Evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Rutland Town Select Board. Today is Tuesday, April 22nd. It's 6 o'clock. We have a full board. Kurt Hathaway, Joe Denardo, Mary Ashcroft, Matt Getty, and Sharon Russell. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alrighty. So first item is select board minutes for our April 8th meeting. They're in the package. Is there any motion?
Move to approve.
Motion's made to approve. Sharon seconds. Any additions, deletions, corrections? If not, all in favor of approving the minutes? And it looks 1, 2, 3, 4. And we were all here, so you can all vote. All in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. All right. You've all looked at the orders for payment of the town's bills. Is there a motion on that?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made by Matt, seconded by Kurt to approve the orders. Any discussion, additions, deletions? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay, Matt, did you vote?
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries 5-0. Are there any board member announcements? Okay. Update from the select board chair. I just have a reminder for everybody that the next Circle article is due May 15th. This is the last Circle edition before summer, before the fall. So this is your chance. If you're doing any summer activities, you want to include anything that's going on this summer, it should be in the Circle. So there, fair warning. Are there any questions from the floor or public comments from anyone not otherwise on the agenda? I'm looking up at the Zoom screen. Jim Marsh.
Is it random thoughts that I'll express what I want. If you go up on Campbell Road on the right,
Yeah.
just by the fire pond, there's a bunch of marble laying there. The old, like the gravestones that they use for bank abutments. And I was going to offer to dispose of a few of those if the council desired.
Do we know who put them there?
I would assume the town, because it looked like they were used for part of the abutment for the culvert that's there.
Okay.
The sidewalls are coming down a little bit, but they're just stacked up in a pile in the corner of the woods. I can show you a picture if you'd like.
We've got our highway commissioner on. Did you hear that, Dave?
I did. I can go down there and take a look at it. We would probably take it for something.
Okay. So, Jim, you should be in touch with our road commissioner and he should be able to, take a look and let you know what you could do with that. Okay, good. Yeah, thanks. Any other folks? There doesn't look like there's anyone raising a hand on Zoom, and we have our usual suspects in the back row. No. Did you know that Vermont's Defender General, Matt Valerio, is in a band called The Usual Suspects? Just a bit of trivia for tonight. Okay. Okay. All right. So there's no other comments or anything from the floor. Let's move on to, I'm intending to do this. Andres is here. So under action items, we do have some work to go over with him. So why don't we have Andres come up and take care of that now?
Andres don't mind.
Oh,
You recognize me, but I'm not Andres.
oh, okay.
I'm here
And so, well, I thought you'd grown a beard is all, Okay, are you with David?
Alistair, this
Okay.
is Mama's cup. Can I just dump yours and get you? No, I know.
Okay.
Really?
Somebody needs to mute.
He's got him.
Okay. Huh, okay, well, I stand corrected. So then the two folks from, the Walmart Diamond Run Mall project are here. I think your request is still to go on at the end of the meeting?
It's whenever's convenient for the board.
Okay,
We're ready to give you a short update on the demolition of the mall.
so I did hear a short, right? Okay. All right.
Promise.
Okay, well, we're gonna start with Andres, who is appearing virtually, without a beard, so let's get right to it.
Thanks. Good to see everybody. I'll keep this quick. I do have several different items. There's always stuff to talk about. Stormwater, obviously, as you know. And I've been working with Bill quite a bit recently, and I just wanted to update the board on kind of the ongoing projects that we're working on related to the stormwater and some action steps I think to take in the near term. So one of the things, the town has the MS4 permit with the state, and we just reported to the state at the beginning of the month, the annual report that we file every April. And one of the things that needs to be looked at in some detail this year is minimum measure 1 and 2. So that's the outreach and education component of the permit. So that requires basically keeping people informed about stormwater and best practices and education opportunities, that type of thing. And so Bill and I met with the city and also the planning commission to discuss an MOU, potential MOU, because essentially the city's under this same requirement, and it really just makes sense to kind of collaborate on that. And in addition to that, Nancy McGuire's replacement, Katie Stiles, at the Natural Resource Conservation District, has expressed some interest in also assisting with this. And I haven't actually been able to connect with her. I have a phone call into her to discuss this in a little bit further. But what there is right now is there's a draft MOU that's out there that I think the board, should have a copy of. And that is with the RPC, the town, and the city. And we really need to look at trying to solidify this and firm it up. And I guess one question that I have is how the NRCD would participate, whether they would be like a party in this or some other way. So I wanted to connect with her, but I just wanted to kind of put that on the board's radar, that this is something that should be finalized so that we could start basically developing some things on the website and maybe doing some activities like cleanups or storm drain stenciling, that type of thing.
Okay, it's number 5 in your packet. And this is the draft MOU, but if you want to add the conservation district, we should probably hold off on this until you've made that connection, right?
I think so, unless Bill has any other information. I don't know if he was able to speak with her directly, but I haven't. So I did want to do that, I guess, first, just to make sure that she shouldn't be formally included somehow.
I do not, but Barbara did. Barbara's here next to us.
Okay, Barbara?
Yeah, she doesn't have a whole lot of time. She's new to her job and getting her feet on the ground, but she's interested. I think she might fit best with the MCM2, the outreach and some of the activities.
Okay.
Should be a little bit farther down the line.
We have townwide celebration in August. Should we plan on having materials at that so we can hand it out to folks? Would that be part of our, public outreach?
Yeah, I mean, it'd certainly be a good idea. I mean, we could help, develop with the materials and yeah, I think that would be good.
All right. Well, that will,
I happen to know where she's gonna be all next week if somebody wants to corner her.
Where's that?
The plant sale.
yeah, and I'm going to be
She'll be at the
Friday and
highway-
Saturday. I'm going to be with her too. So,
Okay.
She'll be at our place all week.
okay. So we can maybe chat with her up there. But anyway, so we need to hold off on signing anything until this has been revised or she has a chance to weigh in on what she wants to do with it. Barbara, what's your recommend on this?
Yeah, I mean, in my discussions with her, it was a minimal kind of participation.
Okay.
But she's excited about it. One thing that has changed, Andres and the board, is that it looks like if this is a joint effort with the city and the town, I can use some other water quality money I have with the state, predicated on that it's a joint venture. So that would reduce the costs to both municipalities.
Okay. Still trying to figure out whether and this is probably in front of the Board of Aldermen as well. We don't know.
We don't know.
Okay. All right. So would it inspire them if we went first and approved this, or should we wait?
I was wondering that myself, and also whether or not the NRCD, if they have a very minor role, maybe they wouldn't necessarily need to be written into this. I mean, they could be, maybe just, I don't know, Barbara, if they could be paid by, directly by you guys, and then, they're not really a party in this. I think they're just willing to assist, right? So.
Yeah. I mean, as it stands right now, Andres, the RPC is not asking for any money. Maybe
Okay.
for some direct expenses, materials, when we get into the actual outreach, like if there are rain barrels to be made, things
Right.
like that. But I think for the first part, where it's mostly website work and that, we're pretty good.
Okay.
And, my time can be covered. I just want to make sure, the RPC wants to make sure that the city is on board. And that, are they going to do this web? Are they going to allow us to put this on their website? Do they have someone assigned for that? Okay.
Mhm.
I do notice the last page where it speaks to the lump sum payment of XXXX and not filled in. So we're not really sure what we would have to toss in, if anything, or if this is all grant funded.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's do this. Can we have an agreement on the concept of doing a joint project with the city on public education and outreach on the stormwater thing? And then we can convey that the town's on board if the city wants to do it jointly. Okay, so did I hear a motion to that effect?
So move.
Motion's made
Second.
and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, we're in favor of the concept. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion,
Great.
did you vote?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries 5-0. So, whoever is going to connect with the city, Barbara or Andres,
Mhm.
we're fine with doing a joint project with them.
Great.
Okay.
I can reach out to Ted and try to push it along.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, great. So the next thing on the agenda is just the community block grant. So the town holds a community block grant with the state DEC, and the community block grant is funding several different projects. So one of them is the Windmere development pond expansion. So this was a project, if you remember, we actually did this design project with the RPC a few years ago. So the project has been partially designed, but not fully designed. This is a project that is a priority under the town's Moonbrook Flow Restoration Plan. So it's a project that really needs to get done. And this is, so essentially, one of the things that we're working on right now is the Act 250 amendment, which is required to actually do this. It's basically expanding the size of the pond, and the Act 250 permit for the development needs to be amended. So we've drafted the amendment, and we have a draft letter that you should have a copy of, that we're proposing to get to the homeowners and then schedule a community meeting to take questions and feedback. And after that point, what we would like to do is be able to submit the Act 250 amendment application, which will also require the town's signature as an interested party, I believe, because this is, also a town project. So that's really the next step. So we wanted to kind of move that along and have the board be okay with us drafting that letter and getting it over to the homeowners and then having that meeting.
Okay. Did everyone get a copy of the packet that goes back December 5th, 2024? Is that on your desk?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah. All right. So what you're looking for is our agreement that you should proceed in drafting the Act 250 amendment request to allow this. We haven't seen it yet, but you want to make sure we're on board before you move forward with that. Okay.
Correct. Yep.
Is there a motion to that effect? We haven't seen it, so it's the concept that Andres should proceed with the Act 250 amendment for the Windmere Pond. Motion's made by Joey,
Second.
seconded by Kurt. Discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I think that's 5-0. Okay, so go ahead. Yes, please.
Great. Thanks. So now there's 3 other projects under this community block grant that are all within the Velco right of way. So there's the North End Drive project, the Nancy Lane project, and the Carmel Place project. And these are all projects that were originally in the Moonbrook Flow Restoration Plan. The community block grant is funding partial design on these, so to bringing these to a 30% level design. So right now we're doing all the feasibility work, and we've been in discussions with Velco about getting right-of-way approval to do these projects, and also talking with historic preservation about getting clearance for that department. So we've been talking with Scott Dillon about that, and also talking with the Act 250 coordinator. He's working on determining whether or not Act 250 permitting would be required for these. So these are all projects that are, again, they're required under the town's flow restoration plan for Moonbrook. And so really what the state's looking for under this block grant is for us to provide a recommendation in terms of priority which one of these is a priority project to advance. And what we're finding is that the North End Drive project, which is the northerlymost of the 3, really has some feasibility issues in terms of slopes and in terms of regulated wetlands. And so it looks like that's probably going to fall to a lower priority as compared to the Nancy Lane and the Carmel Place projects. So yeah, that kind of our scope for this kind of ends at the 30% level, but we're hoping to at least get an up or down approval from Velco whether or not we can use their right of way for these projects. So we're going to have kind of our final deliverable for these will be a cost and kind of a permit summary and a 30% concept plan. So there's really no action on that. I just wanted to kind of update the board in terms of where we were at with those projects.
Okay. So this is all part of a grant that we had back in 2023. And it's $200,000 and our match is 20%. So, and I do believe we've budgeted for it going along in our town budget. So, that's good. Thank you. When you're doing some of this, do you coordinate with our road commissioner so that, if he's doing work and you're planning work, you're not asking us to dig up what's been done?
Yes, we have talked, and we've talked a lot in the past about the paving that was on the schedule for the North End Drive area, and we were saying because there's some culvert work and such that would need to be done there. And now that unfortunately it looks like that project is going to be, less feasible, I don't think that it's probably something where if there's need to do the paving work, it should just happen. But yes, I can reconnect and kind of give him an update offline with some specifics on each one of these two now that we have something on paper with those plans.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So then that is really it. In terms of the community block grant, just one note, the board, Bill had asked us to put some budgetary numbers together at the beginning of each year. Each December we've kind of budgeted for the next year. And so we did that. We have one most recently for fiscal year 25 and 26. The budget numbers that we've given for design for all these projects that I've discussed, and including a couple others, in terms of the actual costs spent that we've spent, they're really been significantly lower than the budget numbers that we provided. But I'm wondering if, just looking at solidifying an agreement for us, I think just to meet the goal, meet the requirements of that community block grant. I know there's a question about that, whether we had an actual signed agreement, so that could be something that maybe the board would want to sign. So we kind of have that solidified.
Okay, so the proposal is then to this multi-page document, which started back in 2023. You're asking that we kind of ratify it with this and agree that this is what we've been working under, and maybe now that I've scribbled all over mine, maybe we all sign it, and that provides the documentation that the stormwater lady was looking for, right? Okay.
Right. That's what I'm suggesting, because we've been using this as a guide for the scope and the budget numbers, but I don't think we've memorialized that. So.
Okay. So is there a motion then to ratify this community block grant? This is $200,000 that we've already received. We have a 20% match that we've actually been budgeting for each year. And then if you
have it.
Oh,
On your desks. Yeah, that's that scope of work that.
this is the only one. I hope it's not the only one.
Oh,
'Cause-
that's, well, no, I can make another copy of it. That, you guys all had that before. That's nothing new. That's what we used to build the budget off of. It's something you've all seen before. It's what we used to build the budget off of back in October, November.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do is have us all sign on the second page, and then you can do a substitute clean version. Okay, so I'm gonna put ratified. And did I just get motion to ratify? Motion's made to ratify. Second? Second, thank you.
Come on, guys.
Our-
We've been carrying all the weight over here. Somebody else do a second
Well, it's,
for once.
highway stuff. They did the minutes.
Somebody
Didn't
else-
they do the minutes?
Somebody do a second here.
Jeez.
We did it.
Okay,
didn't we?
any discussion other than the little digs back and forth? If not, all in favor of ratifying this block grant that we've been operating under, please say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I'm going to circulate this so we all can sign.
And that's everything that I have, if that's enough stormwater for one
Okay.
night.
Yeah, no, that's good. And thanks for the update.
Yeah.
And I'd forgotten about this. That it really was a multi-year agreement, and that we were actually pulling the numbers from it to plan the budget every year. So thanks.
Right.
That was a good refresher.
Yep.
Any questions for Andres? Okay,
All right.
you're off the hook.
Good seeing everybody.
Thank you
Take
very
care.
much.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Second page. Okay. Yeah, just took everything out of order here. All right, let's do, I'm suspecting Jim Marsh might be here because he had sent in a letter about an appointment request. Okay, so under action items B, it says discuss needed appointments. So we do have in our packet several folks who have expressed interest. I just checked with the select board. None of us have received the mailed version of the circle. The electronic version has been online for about 2 weeks, Bill?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it either.
Yeah, and the hard copy version, which is dropped off here, is out here. So what's your pleasure? Do we can wait another couple of weeks and hope that the circle comes out, or we have 3 folks who have expressed interest? And let me see if this is, section 1, there are 1A, if you start with section 1E, Danielle Muma was in talking about the Otter Creek Communications District. She was hoping that somebody else would take over, but she is willing to serve if no one else is. What's your pleasure with that one? Do we wait or do we proceed to appoint?
I'd wait on that one. I don't
Okay.
think there's really
Yeah.
that much pressing stuff going on there.
Okay. The next one, 1F in your packet, is from Donna Smith, who expressed interest in being appointed to the cemetery commissioner position that's open. This was the one that nobody ran for. This is the Cheney Hill Cemetery commissioner. She wrote a nice letter, and she is apparently kind of interested in this and has been working on cemeteries. So
Cemetery commissioners are gonna have a meeting here in the next couple weeks.
okay, so
Got done sugaring season, so
oh, okay. All right. What's your pleasure with filling the cemetery commissioner vacancy?
That's done by the cemetery commission, not the select board.
You sure?
Yeah, we are our own standalone entity, separate from the town.
Oh, I sense a power struggle coming on here. Well, I'll tell you what. I don't know that for a fact. So if you want to do something, do you have other folks in mind or?
Yeah, we have a couple layers of interest on our
Okay.
ends.
Okay,
So
do you
we just
have
have to have
this
a meeting.
one?
Yeah, I have this one. Bill got it to me.
Okay, so on this one, assuming you're correct on, you guys have the authority, then we'll make a note, Bill, please, that we've provided the Cheney Hill Cemetery Commissioners with Donna's name, so that she'll be considered when they're filling the vacancy.
So noted.
Okay, thank you very much.
The cemetery moves slower than the town does.
Well,
even.
it's kind of okay that they do.
Nothing too pressing over
All
there.
things considered. All right, 1G is a letter from Jim Marsh, who is present, who is indicating his interest in,
I think I indicated it. but
I-
I'd like to apply for the regional board of commissioners.
okay, the Rutland Regional Planning Commission.
Welcome.
Yeah.
You've been here in the room.
Okay, you have Jim's letter in front of you. Why would you like to do this, and what can you bring to the position?
Well, I'd like to do something for the town. I lived in town for 6 years, Rutland City for 24. I was born and brought up in Arlington, and both my parents were very involved. I've been in the ski industry for 50 years, in various positions. At Bromley, I was general manager. At Stowe and Jay Peak, mountain manager, which is all the outside operations, maintenance and operations. I retired from Killington as vehicle maintenance manager, but during different times there, I was in charge of the road commission, roads, lift electrical, lift maintenance, and vehicle maintenance. So I have a wide background. I was a sort of a mini project go-to person for Jeff Temple, who's the mountain manager for safety, for other projects. The vehicle maintenance budget was $1 million budget by itself. I put forth in, applied for, and we installed a new radio system for the mountain, and also several other software programs that we used. So I have a wide range with dealing with capital and expense funds, and dealing with people, dealing with safety, construction on the mountain, dealing with the regulations for that.
Why the regional commission?
It sounds interesting.
Okay. All right. Have you done any planning? I mean, it sounds like in your job,
Well,
there was a planning component.
for expense and capital budgets, you have to plan that out and deal with the other departments. And
Okay. And any questions from other select board members? What we do ask is that you check in with us periodically to let us know what's going on with the regional commission. I mean, Barbara's a member of staff there, but she's also our planning commission chair. So if something is coming up, she usually flags it, but it would be nice to have our rep come in occasionally to the select board and report to us.
expect that, yes.
Okay. Okay.
This one's kind of been out there for a while, right? Because David.
It has.
Quite a while ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Is,
I don't know. if it's worth waiting any longer. The circle on this one. What
We-
did we actually say? Circle.
oh,
List all every opening.
did I give you one? Or did you just, here it is.
First one on the list.
Okay.
Well, actually, alternates at Town Planning Commission was the first one on the list.
Okay. Interested in serving your town. There it is.
You think you're gonna be knocking the doors down?
Well, they haven't so far.
Well, I'm going to make the motion that we accept this gentleman. He's taken the time. He certainly has experience. So that would be my motion that
I'll
we,
second that motion.
Okay, motion's made and seconded, made by Sharon, seconded by
I
Joe.
think.
Joe
Yeah.
to approve Jim Marsh as our delegate to the Rutland Regional Planning Commission. So any further discussion or, biting questions for the candidate? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
aye.
Aye. Okay, that's 5-0. Thank you very much for serving.
Thank you. I look forward
Appreciate
to dealing with you.
Okay,
Thank
so check in with Bill, if you will, and he'll do what, do we have something to sign tonight?
Wasn't clear which position it was gonna be for, so.
Okay.
We will.
Okay. All right, so we'll, check in with Bill.
5 or 6 if you wanna give him some more.
Just keep
No,
throwing
he's
them.
here, right? And he didn't say,
It's like
so
run.
we could do it now or wait until he leaves and then assign a few more. to him, but- Okay.
I was gonna say you should make him stay so he can hear what I have to say.
Actually, it may very well,
Very
so
apropos.
it might very well, yeah. Okay,
It's on the clock, so probably should go to him next.
we should,
You've been hitting stormware, regional planning. This is
I
great.
know, I
You
know.
got more of everything.
Could I,
So let's, yes, Dave?
for the, TAC committee, Jason Bathalon would like to take over the TAC, the Traffic Advisory Council.
Okay, so have him get in something of interest, letter of interest or something?
All right.
Okay. Because we also have the other two folks, or the other person, and we may, once the circle gets in the mail and out to people, we may have other folks too. But this one had been hanging for a while and we needed to get it filled. All right, let's skip to Diamond Run Mall Walmart project discussion with David Grake.
Thank you.
Come on up. Yeah.
Thank you. So my name's David Drake and representing the Diamond Run Mall. Joe Anthony can't be here tonight, but sends his personal regards. The timing of this meeting was such that last week we'd received more communication from the town regarding the problems up at the mall site with unauthorized activity. So we're well aware of waste disposal issues and vagrancy and people using the mall in a way that it's not supposed to be used. And that was, we're well aware of that. And in fact, we are within 30 days of applying for an Act 250 permit to demolish the mall. So we need a permit to do that. And so the definition, this is one of the ironies of Act 250. So Act 250 essentially regulates the construction of improvements for a commercial purpose. And it comes to be, lo and behold, that when you demolish something, that constitutes the construction of an improvement, even though you're demolishing it. So we're within 30 days of filing that application, and we will demolish that mall as soon as we get the Act 250 permit. This is an activity which is not part of the Walmart. The mall owner will be the sole applicant, and the mall owner has to come into compliance with, here comes more stormwater, what's called the 3-acre rule. So there's a provision of the state stormwater law which applies to impervious surfaces, and I have with me Craig Jewett of MSK Engineering, and he will speak to it. So if I say anything wrong about the 3-acre rule, he will be here to make sure that it's corrected. But basically, the mall has to come into compliance with the 3-acre stormwater rule, and we need to do that. We want to do that, and the way to do that is you demolish the mall, and you return surfaces to a vegetated state. And not only do we want to come into compliance with that 3-acre rule, but it's no dispute that the mall is blighted. It's a location where it's a burden on municipal services, as well as the mall owner having to police what goes on up there and correct the problems. So the grand solution is easy. The process of it is through Act 250, and we're certainly hoping that that process will move as expeditiously as possible. Typically, I would expect the demolition to be done as a minor amendment. The core issues of the Act 250 approval relate to the actual debris waste and the management of that process. And for that, we have received the Department of Environmental Conservation approval of the solid waste management plan, as well as the stormwater permits. So it's not like we're trying to run an ongoing operation. We just need to get in there for the period of time, a matter of weeks or short months duration, to demolish the building, manage the waste, and revegetate the areas that need to be revegetated. And for the gentleman who was just appointed to the RPC, what I'm going to talk about briefly with the Select Board as a statutory party also applies to the Regional Planning Commission. So, as I like to say in Act 250, all parties are equal, but some are more equal than others. And that includes you as the Select Board and you as the RPC, as well as the Planning Commission. So those are what are referred to as the statutory parties. And that means that you are automatically entitled to notice and the right to participate in any Act 250 application that is filed within the jurisdiction of the RPC, and for the town Select Board and the Planning Commission within the town of Rutland. And so it's very important to my client, as well as to just get the job done as expeditiously as possible, that you support the application for demolition. Now, I'm not asking you to take a vote tonight.
Good, because we don't have it in front of us.
Exactly.
Right.
That's the whole point. I'm well aware of that. I did serve briefly as Deputy Secretary of State for 50 weeks. Count them, 50 weeks. So, as you were pondering the cemetery and the select board, I'm like, well, where's Paul Gillis's book of opinions? I'm sure the answer's in there. Or maybe I wrote it. I don't know, during my tenure. So you're going to get notice of the application, and we wanted to give you a preview of that application so that when it comes in, you're able to kind of sift it quickly and understand this is for the mall's demolition. It's just for the demolition. And I can't imagine anyone or any person or reason that anyone would want to obstruct or hinder the mall's demolition, both for the stormwater purposes as well as the health and public safety issues.
Let me try one, and it's not a
Sure.
hindrance. It's usually the demolition would be part of the main Act 250
Mm-hmm,
construction
mm-hmm.
amendment thing, but you're not proposing that. You're doing
No,
this.
and the reason why we're not is because the responsibility for this activity, the mall's demolition, is solely with the mall owner.
Okay.
And we need to come into compliance with the 3-acre stormwater rule. So the property's on the DEC list, and there is a compliance requirement. And the activity we're talking about within the mall property is under the sole ownership and control of the mall owner. In other words, Walmart has no interest in the demolition, doesn't want any interest in the demolition, and its sole focus is on the application for the building.
Okay. To come into compliance and revegetation,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have to tear up pavement as well.
So that's why I have Craig here, and
Okay.
he's got some excellent site plans. But to answer, generally speaking, the principle that we're adhering to is what we're doing to come into compliance is not going to be affected by the Walmart application. In other words, you're familiar, you don't know it, but your select board chair is a former chair of the Act 250 Commission and well versed in it. And so you understand the material change, right? Okay. So the Walmart project will not be a material change to the demolition project, including the areas of revegetation and stormwater management. So it's not like we've got a second project that's waiting and will somehow affect or supersede what we need to do with the demolition. Demolition is for stormwater. It's to come into compliance with the 3-acre rule and the added benefit of removing the blighted building.
So is everything coming down? Because earlier when you were talking last year, you were uncertain whether everything would be demolished.
Craig is going to speak to that, but
Okay.
in brief, I believe it's the Kmart box is going to remain. So there's some hope that might be reused in the future. So, and you're going to get all this in the formal application, but
Right. Okay.
rather than give you that application, have you kind of need to
Yeah,
piece through it, we wanted to provide you with the key site plans
Thank you.
so that you can understand, because different areas are going to get different treatment. And I'm going to let Craig walk you through it.
Thank you, everybody. So as we talked about, the purpose of this is to come in compliance with the 3-acre rule. One of the options to do so is a 25% reduction in the overall impervious areas on the parcel. So the area that you see in green represents slightly over 10 acres of parking lot and building that will be revegetated into a grass surface per stormwater requirements, with requirements for how much topsoil gets put in on that. And that site would remain in a vegetated state. The area of the mall shown in the red would also be demoed, but would not be revegetated. So it would remain an impervious surface along with the remaining portion of the parking lot there. So the former Kmart building is the portion of the mall that's closest to Spartan Arena. So the parking lot that also helps serve Spartan will remain, as will that section of the mall building, mainly due to the fact that it's actually considered a reusable space, where the rest of the remaining portion of the mall is not considered a functional site.
So to just bring it out, so you'll see the dashed black line is the outline of the existing structure. And within that existing structure area, we have the red hatch, and then we have a portion of the green, and then outside of the dashed black line, there is another portion of the green. So it's understanding those three areas and how they're going to be affected by the demolition, which is what I wanted to make sure you had a clear understanding of. Okay.
So the green section, as you're moving forward with the application for Walmart, that's going to stay green.
Correct.
Okay. What's to prevent, this is the cynical me question, okay? What's to prevent you from demolishing this building, which is a pain, leaving the Kmart section and then saying, okay, we're not going to go through with the Walmart, and town, we want a tax reduction because we don't have buildings there anymore?
Wow, that's cynical.
You betcha.
Well, I have no information that is what's in the work. I am aware that there's a contractual relationship between my client and Walmart to proceed with an application, but I don't know, maybe someone's going to hear your idea. It's not in the cards as far as I know, but obviously I have no authority to say anything other than what I know is the plan. And we have a plan to proceed with this demolition project regardless, because we have to come into compliance with the 3-acre rule. And we have every expectation that there's going to be an application for a Walmart in the early fall.
And you're working on that currently?
And that is being worked on currently. But what we're trying to avoid is bringing forth demolition and the building application at the same time, because they really are two separate projects. And it has to be two separate permits because Walmart has no ownership or control in the area of the property, which is to be the subject of the demolition. And the reason why I'm emphasizing that is the obligation to obtain a permit falls upon any entity that owns or controls the property which is to be developed, or to at least identify those with a substantial property interest. Walmart does not have a substantial property interest in the demolition project. Just the opposite is the case.
Yeah.
About things. Red box here around Spartan that extends out into the woods. Is this all subject to their lease? Is that what that's indicating?
So the red box is the parcel associated with the Spartan Arena. So there is a separate ownership from the mall proper parcel. So the red is the tax map boundary for the Spartan Arena.
Do you have the other site plan?
Yep.
So do we have printouts of those or no?
I did not.
Okay. So what you're really, to put a little further refinement on what you're asking. So the Spartan Arena, as you see it in the shape, has its own leasehold and it has its own span number, and the rights of Spartan are within the defined leasehold area. So Spartan will be notified of all applications, but it has no legal interest in either the demolition or the Walmart application, such that it will not be a co-applicant. Okay?
Okay.
But they could participate as
They are more than welcome
Yeah,
to participate as an interested party.
Right.
But to, again, understand how the property, the entire parcel, which is the perimeter, right? As you see the perimeter, Act 250 refers to that as the tract or tracts of involved land. And then within that entire area, there are individual tenants which have areas of leasehold. And so just because they're within the overall tract doesn't necessarily mean they have property rights in areas outside their leasehold.
Go
I have
ahead,
a
no.
separate question.
Yeah,
So,
go
but
ahead.
if you have something on this, then,
No.
so, and this is slightly off topic, and I don't know if you can answer it, but, when Joe was here before, he mentioned a number of other possible projects for this development.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, how does this impact if
So
all this is returned to green?
Let me be really clear. That was conceptual, potential, and not part of what there is any present application for. And unfortunately, that discussion has caused some confusion. Whatever else happens in the future is yet to be determined. And this application for demolition, and we trust the application for the Walmart, will neither authorize anything other than what's being applied for, nor will it preclude anything to happen in the future. But right now, the only applications, the only contractual interests which exist are one, obviously the owner for the demolition, and Walmart for its building application in the fall. And whatever else happens, if anything, is the lawyers would use the term incohate. It's not complete. And the Regional Planning Commission and the regional plan is going to have a significant impact on what happens in the future, because under Act 250, when a project is identified as having the potential for a regional impact, the regional plan actually takes supersedence over the town plan to the extent that they're in conflict. So the future is yet to be determined and yet to be decided.
The Walmart portion would be the rebuilt where the red hatched area is. Is that what?
The planning and design is in that general location, yes.
Okay,
Cross. Yeah.
all right. And the former Kmart, that's maybe somebody, some other tenant or purchaser in the future?
It's even more hypothetical than that.
Okay.
It's the owner has looked at it and decided that for now, the property can come into compliance with the 3-acre stormwater rule. The Walmart application is separate and apart, and that exterior structure is worthy of holding on to for the time being.
Okay.
It could end up being demolished. It could end up being reused. It will all depend upon what the economic success of the future brings, what the Regional Planning Commission does with its new plan, and indeed, I think your town plan is up for renewal in the next year or so. Am I right?
3 years.
Oh, good. 3. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Good.
And how did you happen to pick the green area to reclaim as opposed to some other portions?
So a couple of different reasons for that. So first and foremost, we wanted to minimize any impact to Spartan. So they have their existing parking. This is used as overflow parking sometimes. So there was a need and a want to not affect adversely Spartan's use of the remaining parcel. This area was chosen more so because it actually fit the 25% quite nicely and allowed us to keep that separate from any potential development of this portion of the property. So this will stay regardless of what happens with any redevelopment over here. That was important in the permitting process, so we weren't getting a permit and then turning around and trying to do something different with it immediately thereafter.
And that's what I said at the outset, Mary, that nothing we do with demolition is going to then be the underlying basis for a material change by the Walmart application to what we've just gotten permitted, we hope and expect, for the demolition and revegetation in compliance with the stormwater rule.
And actually bringing all of that green area back is going to lessen the visibility of the project from the area, because that's about the most visible face.
What are we talking about for green? planting grass or trees or?
So there's no proposal for any tree or vegetation beyond just grass. Right now, the permit requires a vegetated surface with at least, I believe, 3 to 4 inches of topsoil to make sure that the ground has the ability to absorb stormwater. That's the effect of saying we're taking off 10 acres that sheds water and bringing back 10 acres that's at least going to absorb some water before it starts to shed. So there is no plan as of right now for anything more than grass. That doesn't mean it's not precluded from in the future from putting trees in those areas. They're not specifically prohibited. They're just not proposed at the moment.
There's some trees there. They're in pretty bad shape.
Yes. Yeah. I don't foresee any of the trees there being salvaged based on what I've seen.
Or salvageable.
Yeah.
I mean, the goal is to get it grass first.
Yeah.
And get it into compliance. And then as the future unfolds, obviously the laws in effect will then need to be complied with for anything in the future, if there is anything in the future. And that can't be stressed enough.
As to that area. Questions? Yes, Joe.
So
No, we're holding off, Jim, because you're now a separate entity, potentially.
you got demoted already. So how do you, so I understand the grass, I know the whole concept. But the people that currently misuse the property, how do you plan on managing them? Because once you make that grass, I anticipate the guys with the 4-wheel drive trucks driving up there and just having a grand old time ripping it all up. So do you have a plan in place to protect what you're doing here?
I think it's fair to say that the ownership is well aware of how the property is misused and that it has a substantial economic incentive to ensure that those kinds of activities don't occur.
Has there been any thought to temporarily suspend the use of the driveway at the traffic light? Have you guys given any thought to try to limit access to the property?
I don't want to say yes or no, because I'm fearful that if I say yes to that, then that's another reason to have to get yet another permit amendment, because there's an existing set of permits which require ingress and egress using certain means, and any deviation from the existing permits then becomes the basis for more Act 250 requirement. And if the traffic consultants are able to say it makes sense to do that, and if that's something that can be done without causing more issues to arise, then it certainly would be up for consideration.
Because I just see a lot of vandalism up there.
We are well aware of the vandalism, and that's
No,
why
but I mean, to the new,
I
yeah,
understand exactly what you're saying, and I think
tearing up
that,
the old building.
tearing up the old building is certainly important. Human behavior is what it is, but I understand how frustrating it is when property owners don't act preemptively and proactively to manage their own property and allow the impacts of misuse to cascade off their property. And that is the issue that has to be addressed.
And what's the red hatched area? The building comes down. It's just going to be an open, graded.
It's going to be it still will be in a impervious
Yeah,
state. So it'll
yeah.
be an impervious surface that won't be revegetated. So it will be similar to the remaining parking lot as far as from a stormwater purpose.
Basically going to be what is the floor of the building, right?
Essentially, give or take,
Yeah.
here or there, depending on what they get into. Yeah, essentially, yes.
And more of the details are in the
DEC waste management. So the Act 250 application will have a copy of that management plan that's been reviewed by DEC. And that goes into the recycling. All of the asphalt and the concrete is planned to be recycled and reused for other purpose. So they are intending to reuse and recycle as much of the building as they can. And the remaining portion
On site.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, it will be recycled on site. Belden Company helped put the waste management plan together, and their plan is to do the recycling on site.
Okay, so there won't be a lot of construction trucks hauling stuff out of there.
Hopefully not. No, they plan on using a fair amount of it. I think it's mainly going to be building materials and what they can do with those building materials.
Okay. And let's see, the logical disposal place would be, I guess, our Northwood transfer station, no?
I don't
No?
believe
Now, this will
that's,
go some, this
That's
will
all
go,
going direct to a landfill.
Okay,
it'll be kind of like what they did with the fire station. They'll tear it down and it all goes to a specific,
okay.
yeah, it's.
The
place to-
debris goes straight to Coventry, Vermont,
all right.
landfill.
Yeah.
And any of the concrete they'll probably crush on site and either haul off to do whatever Beldens want to do with it, or use some of it
I
on
think
site.
the hope is to turn it into some aggregate that they may be able to use in other places if possible. Try to double up the effort. If they need to take it down, can they put it into a material that they can use for other purposes?
I just got steel and then they'll have to separate it.
Yeah, they munch all the steel out of it.
Other questions? Yeah.
Get it
Great.
done.
Oh.
Get it done as fast as you can. Get us a Walmart.
So
What we
this is where
Get it
Matt
rolling.
and I say our Rotary Club uses Spartan Arena at the end of May for our annual raffle, which is a big fundraiser. So don't do anything.
You won't be
that's gonna
affected by
mess
this.
up.
I don't expect an Act 250 permit to allow us to commence construction in May.
Yeah, one would only hope.
Mentioning the municipal impact questionnaire and getting that.
Just that I was
Yes.
gonna finish just with, again, you are a statutory party, and I urge you as a statutory party to take a strong interest in all Act 250 applications. I'm a former general counsel of the Act 250 program. I've been doing Act 250 work since it's been a long time now, since 1992. I've been a lawyer in Vermont since 1990. And I urge both the RPC and the Planning Commission to really exercise your voice. I know my client is keen to move forward with this, and we welcome your support and endorsement. And we will be getting you the municipal impact questionnaire and the application, and in the demolition application will be filed within 30 days. Okay?
We usually circulate that among department heads. Impact on the police department, fire, and our road folks. So Barbara, you'll get your own separate for the planning commission. So you could just know that's coming and be able to react. That'd be great.
And if you want me to make a similar presentation to the planning commission, sign me up. We're more than happy to come. As long as I get to bring Craig. All right.
All right. Anything else? Good. Well, thank you very much. And thank you for, back to your principal, because when Bill had some pictures he sent along to Joe, and it happened that I was just up there at the same time.
I know.
And I mentioned it to Bill, and the response was very good and very quick. So we
Thank you.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Have a good evening.
Alrighty. So I think we could just hop into our department head reports. Ed Dumas.
Dropping wrappers all over the place.
That was my fault. Stuck to my papers, apparently.
Kept you waiting too long.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Ted's been writing a list of stuff that,
So first I had emailed both Mary and Matt today with contracts.
Yeah, you got him to us today.
I know.
So, but I talked with Matt, and it sounds like I did print them off. We could use a police committee meeting anyway.
Yeah.
So one contract was for a printer
Yep.
for Lynette's office, and that's in the new public safety building. And with it is a 5-year SimQuest contract for service.
Yep.
And then there was a contract for tasers. Okay, and that's another 5-year contract. So my suggestion would be that it goes to the police committee first, and we chat with you, and instead of trying to have us deal with it tonight with just not the information.
We weren't aware that there was a contract we had to sign with them. We get the contract language after we got the printer, so apologize. And we didn't try to put the cart before the horse.
I need to come to us though for that.
Well, it's a 5-year contract and it commits the town to, so for something like that, I would say we should be looking at it longer term.
That's the same contract we have for the printers here.
Yes.
Okay.
Same company with same contract, the contract price.
All right.
Oh, is there really anything to discuss on that one?
Scribble on it and let's move on for that one.
Do you guys even have it in front of you?
It's the same exact contract that we sign all the time.
I don't know that because
Okay.
that's the point of having a committee take a look at it. So, okay, so those are those things.
Number 2 was the firearms
Yes.
discussion. So we have been just discussing it. I finally got the quotes to the committee. I didn't give the quotes to everybody. I apologize on that one. But we have 3 quotes, one significantly higher than the other 2.
This was the replacement of the Glocks, and I know we've discussed this before. And you better refresh my memory as to the 3 numbers. And one thing that I asked for was, I'm not conversant with the laws on buying and selling handguns in the state of Vermont, but I wanted to be absolutely sure that we had something that disclaimed any liability if we have questions about whether these handguns are defective. We're selling these as is, and we're making no representations about anything, and we don't want the town involved. So
again, that was another one that this morning I had sent an as-is contract, general as-is contract, but it had the hold harmless language that you wanted as well. Last week, I talked to Officer Dumas, who had been doing the contract, or he had reached out to Black Dog, one of the people. I asked him, reach out, make sure he's interested with this clause. And now Officer Dumas has pneumonia, so I haven't heard from him. So, but I did send that general contract language to you. It's 2 pages, but the first one we have for a quote is from Black Dog Shooting Supply. It's on South Main Street in the city. They're willing to purchase our current handguns and all equipment and pistol magazines for a buyback price of $2,730. And then the remaining cost for the new weapons, because his contract doesn't have it. What is it? Plus.
It's in your email, I think.
yeah, Matt's probably got it.
So overall, his price for the new handguns, the holsters, and weapon mounted lights are $7,980. But then subtract the $2,730 to our final price of $5,250.
And
You're placing how many, Teddy?
What's that?
How many sidearms?
7.
7.
Yep.
Okay. So that just, if that was for one, the general public might think that was
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
That
is 7 guns.
But
It's more than just a weapon, it's a
It's a
light,
whole-
it's a whole kit.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And, okay, and then the other 2 quotes that you had?
The other 2 quotes, one is from Peros, which is up in Waterbury. They too offered a buyback program, or a buyback for our handguns. So for their overall price, doesn't break it down that well for me, but at the end of it all, their overall price was $5,900 for the same 7 handguns and buying back the same 7, or the 7 holsters, everything the same. Their price was $5,900, and they're
Okay.
out of Waterbury. And then the third quote was from a firearms dealer in New Hampshire, who was very upfront with us in the beginning that we've used him in the past to purchase SIGs when they were a Sig Sauer dealer. They are no longer a Sig Sauer dealer. They're also not a Glock dealer.
Oh.
So he could not give us Glock pricing, which is what the other two did. And that price did not have a buyback either, and that was $9,219.
Okay. All right. So you recommend,
I would recommend we go with Black Dog Shooting Supplies out of Rutland.
which
We
is
don't have to
the,
drive to Middle or Waterbury to do it.
yeah,
Stuff on
it's
this.
local, and assuming we can get the language in the,
Correct.
you know, the whole harmless
I'll
line.
make a motion that we go ahead with that deal, contingent on them agreeing to the bill of sale as they drafted it.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to go with Black Dog Electronics.
Shooting supplies.
Don't do the electronics part.
Small dog.
Small dog.
Small
You know?
Yeah.
Okay, Black Dog Shooting Supplies. For a net cost to the town of $5,250, and the money is to come from the equipment replacement fund,
Right. Yes, depreciation.
depreciation.
So this is just a question. And I don't know how the state does. So we revamped our purchasing policy. You guys are all aware of it. So, and then they've kind of gone beyond what they needed to do actually. Does the state purchase their weapons anywhere and have any kind of a contract that you could work with them or no?
So the state currently has Sig Sauers, the same handguns we have. They went through Sig directly. So, and being the state police, I'm sure they got a really good deal for having to purchase as many guns as they did.
Yeah.
But as far as like a state bid on the handguns, I don't believe one exists.
It's just something I, but,
No,
and we don't want to buy what we got if they're already defective. So we got to just move on from that. So I'll just,
Correct.
okay. Oh,
So we're buying what kind?
blocks.
Okay, it's the SIGs that are the problem.
Correct.
Okay. All right, are you ready for the vote? Any more questions? If not, all in favor of approving the $5,250 expenditure for 7 new guns for the police department, please say aye. Aye. All in favor, it's 5-0. So, is there something for signature?
There isn't because the general language contract I filled out was just, I didn't have a person to fill it out with yet. So
Okay,
before I do anything with it, I'll make sure the committee reviews it. You guys are good with it and then bring it to Black Dog for them to sign.
okay. This is subject to, as Matt said, the acceptable language for holding the town harmless. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
The next I had, and Joey and I talked already about it, is Joe had stopped up to the building yesterday after going over the building plans on things that were in the plans, but things that were never installed. I had emailed Joe this morning what Royal Group had sent me back in the big planning stages about card readers for our building. And their plans have a card reader in our main lobby, though right now there is not one. They
there's
said,
not the thing installed, okay.
correct.
It's all
So,
wired for it. It's
Okay.
set up for it. The guy did it, he goes, it's here, but he said in his plans at the time, it wasn't.
It's to get by the door at the front desk.
correct.
Correct.
So, and it's also on the itemized list that Royal Group sent in 2022 when we were planning everything. So I sent those two to Joey.
Okay.
So,
And so I've looked at our plans. Our plans show 5 card readers for the building. So I asked Gary to make sure it's there. What it sounds like is, and Royal Group did the installation, I believe. It sounds like to me they owe us a card reader.
Yeah.
It should have been part of their bid for the building and because everything's there but the card reader.
exactly.
Okay.
So that one should be taken
So
care
is
of.
there just one or there's several?
No, there's just the one missing.
Okay.
There's one outside the building to get in the main entrance, right?
Okay,
So there was supposed to be an intercom system
There's out there.
that was directly connected to state dispatch. So if we're not there or the door is locked, they can hit the button and be automatically connected to state dispatch. That's not there either, but it's on both the plans and the itemized list.
all right.
So,
So 2 things missing.
right, so what I suggested to Ted, and is what I'd tell him is that, since VMS has moved back into the building last Friday, And Gary's working on the punch list, going through stuff. Fabian is there. They're getting the bank done. So stuff is moving along. And as long as, so I told Ted to touch base with Gary on this tomorrow. If that stuff was part of the bid and not there, then they owe it to us.
Yes, they do.
The way I look at it. And then they'll need to, hopefully it's not going to require a lot of
It should,
monkeying around if the wiring isn't there for the intercom,
that could be more of a headache, but the wiring is there for the card reader in the lock.
right. That part was always there and I never understood why they did. I think they ordered 4 instead of 5 and then just,
Yeah.
but. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. All right.
I have down here APHIS, I think, to discuss the things that we have found. I know Bill and I had talked about it a couple different times.
Okay.
So we ran into an issue when we went to have the APHIS machine installed.
Right.
So to get a static IP address, which is what we need, it is doable, but Bill had to get a hold of the people at Consolidated. A new modem apparently has to be installed for the tune of, I think, $20 a month.
Yes.
And then the IT guy who's been working with us in the town would have to spend, I would dare say, a day on the phone with our firewall people, creating these static IP addresses to get the appropriate avenues fed so there's no issues.
So when last we heard about this, it threatened to be a huge redo of all of this, the computer systems coming in. Now it sounds like we can do a single new dedicated line.
That's
Theoretical.
that's accurate.
Okay.
It will require different hardware from Consolidated, which is not a problem. It will be $20 a month for that, which is minimal, but the crux of the whole thing becomes there are systems which have addresses that they have been assigned, and the firewall, the hardware device that the police have, that kind of is the first step, is the first thing that hits, and that it's in the building, can provide these systems those same addresses. It has the ability to do that. Once we get in there and go port by port, assigning this plug on this thing has this address, and then the device that needs that gets into that port. So there's 4 connections on this thing, and we are going to use all 4 of them for very, very specific purposes. It is that process that is estimated between 6 and 8 hours of time. The building will not have internet service during that time because everything has to come down to be configured, and it can be done.
Okay.
It's Pat and I have talked about it, and he says, that it can be done. Being on the phone with them, he can do it, or I can do it. His rate is different than mine.
Yeah. So it's a fix that's doable
Yes.
at way less cost, other than loss of internet for a day or maybe 2, and then your time or Pat's time.
Right.
Okay. All right. So the fix is not as great as we feared.
It's not terrible. It's not simplistic. It's not simple.
No, I'm
but
not
it's
saying it
terrible.
is, but it's doable.
Yeah. So if that's the direction we want to go, I can have Consolidated drop paperwork that we need to switch it over.
Okay. Do we have a choice?
Not really.
No.
I didn't think so.
So the machine.
Not a good one.
Not a good one. No.
Okay.
The potential of that database far outreaches the inconvenience.
Yeah.
And this is something that maybe people don't understand. It's not simply a machine that takes your fingerprints. When you enter those, that goes into a nationwide database, and you might arrest somebody and find out he's wanted somewhere else. And you would never know that without this. So it's a whole system. And like with some of this new stuff, you come up with these little glitches that it has to be super secure. And that's what this whole thing's about, security. So I think it's.
Anyone see, I mean, this it's a fix that is a relief to me. It's doable. So is there anyone objecting to us proceeding along with it? Do we need a motion for you to proceed? Anyone?
There's probably paperwork to sign, but do you want to wait till the next meeting to, I don't know how fast they can create it. But they won't be able to they won't be able to schedule installation until the paperwork is signed.
All right, and we haven't seen the paperwork yet.
Well, we want to have this discussion first, so we assume that's where we're gonna go, but we needed to have that created, so they start putting things in place.
So if we had the paperwork by next Tuesday,
Oh, that's right. We have a meeting
special
next
meeting next
Tuesday.
Tuesday
Let's
night.
do that.
we
Okay.
could, we could sign the paperwork.
And let's stick it on the agenda, even though that's our meeting with the Regional Planning Commission next Tuesday. So department heads, don't panic. You don't have to be here. Yep. Sorry, did you have something?
Same time, same place, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's
You guys
see if
okay
we can
with
get
that?
the paperwork and move ahead with that then. Okay, good. So we won't vote tonight. We'll vote when we have the paperwork. All right. How are we doing on your list?
The last thing, this has to do with not only the building, but the open house coming up.
Mhm.
Fire department is really good at documenting their history with between photos, plaques and things like that. We've never had our building or an area to really document that stuff, but now that we do, we want to move forward with the documentation. Whereas documenting, John Sly and John Paul Faignant as the founders of the department, but also the past constables. I know Bill found a bunch of old pictures with Tony Flory, John Flory, Brian Abbey,
Oh.
that we want to put up in the new building. I spent a while today trying to get information on the old constables. And I think it's fairly accurate according to JP, but if anybody has anything else on prior to like Tony Flory
Town
or
report dedication.
Yeah, I was gonna say the town reports will have those people identified. So if you need to double check, Kari's got a full set. I have gone through the town reports in the past to look for things. So
okay.
just double check that way.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great idea. I'm glad you're doing that.
With the fire department, when you guys order plaques, do you just go to initial ideas or have you gone elsewhere? Okay.
They treat the town really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll just go
We've
down
probably
there.
been their best customer.
They have your back.
Yes, they
Speaking
do.
of plaques, and this is kind of slightly off topic, but is there a plaque if we do a dedication that talks about, who the builder was, who the architect
We
was?
haven't talked about that yet.
All right.
We never even mentioned any. We did that with Center Station.
Yeah.
It's in the foyer when you go in.
Yeah.
So this building, we haven't really done that because I was thinking one of the places that would be neat to display some of that stuff is when you come in that main entrance.
Yeah.
And that may also be if we do decide something on, the committee and how we got that building built. We could copy, something similar to what we did at the
There's
Senate building.
one and I think the school has one too from when they did some work.
Right,
there, so-
and we do have, Chris does have the marble dedications that were in McKinley Station, used to be on the wall in there, and he has those. I don't think he has them up yet, but it recognized the select board and stuff at the time in 1967, 68 when that station was built. So that stuff, it's the same as what was in the center. We'll hang on to those and then they'll put those up.
Well, but we should have something
We've
about
got
the
something new
current
for,
one.
right, but we never even discussed that as a committee or as a board as to
Okay, well,
who was
Let's-
involved with what and
move it up. Maybe we should.
Yeah.
We probably should, little piece of history. Okay,
So with that, I have prior constables, plaques, nameplates, department creation stuff. The front door, I talked to Bill about it. The fire department's front door, their lettering is really nice, but I don't want to spend the money that they spent on it. So I think I'm going to work with Bill and his wife Robin on getting the same stuff, just not as expensive. Get rid of that piece of.
About it for the first time.
Oh, thank you, Robin.
thank you, Robin.
Gets rid of that piece of paper that's on our front door right now, makes it a little bit more professional.
Yeah.
But hopefully that'll be cleaned up before the tour open house as well.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we're working on that.
A request to, and I'll mention it to Chris too, and I've already mentioned it to Marty. At the open house, it would be nice to have some handouts. Mostly I'm thinking about safety tips for kids, safety tips for older folks, fire safety, that just handouts so that when people come, they have something to take with them to remind them that we have a police department and a fire department and outreach and, all of that good stuff.
And I spent some time with Eddie one day when I was there waiting for somebody to come do something at the station Wednesday, but, to help with, I think people get confused when they're looking to call in a complaint. So you guys are gonna work to come up with some information, that will help. Like when the building is not staffed, there's nobody there and what to do.
Right, good.
I think
Yeah.
there's some confusion, because I know that, and maybe that might be part of your lettering
It
on the
is.
window
It's
or on that front.
part of that very small piece of paper we have
Right,
right now.
the fire department, if you, on the door, what they put on there is just Rutland Town Fire Department. It's an unmanned station. If you have an emergency, dial 911. So you
Also be
guys will
nice,
have,
if we had that microphone on the outside, that would make things.
that'll be a big help.
If you didn't have a cell phone, you were in emergency, you could push a button and then it would go there. Somebody would come no matter what.
And when the building is staffed, obviously you guys will. receive it.
Correct.
When it's not, but these are the little glitches that are popping up now that you have a very visible building. And then, once Dave gets the sign and the paving gets done, we'll get the information so people know where it's done.
Okay. And have you moved the trash cans yet?
Yes.
I did the next day. Next day I moved them around back, came Sam.
All right.
All we have.
So we do need to schedule a police committee. So, and maybe we'll see what just before the select board meeting next week looks like. I don't know, but I think, yeah, let me talk with my fellow committee member here. The back door that wasn't closing properly, is that all resolved?
They're working on, I don't know what they're doing exactly, but
So I talked to Gary very briefly, yesterday morning, and he had said that they're aware of it, but those plates have not been ordered yet. So he doesn't know where that is. And I just expressed like, yeah, that's got to get fixed now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's a huge,
That's huge.
issue. So
Yeah.
he said he was going to look into it again.
Okay.
That's what he told me yesterday.
All right. Good. Anything for our police? Oh, wait, I do have one. Kari put on my desk, requests for liquor licenses. So we have the Maple Angus seeking a first-class restaurant bar license and a renewal of their first-class license. And they're, of course, over here in Center Rutland. And then Papagayo is seeking renewal first and third class liquor licenses. Papagayo is Johnny Boy's Pancake
No
House.
problems either.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that's what their business name was, Papagayo.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
No,
Johnny Boy's.
there's no problem with either.
No.
Okay, no problem with either. So, request for licenses, any motion? And we all get to sign. Motion to approve? Did I hear you second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor of approving those licenses, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, I'll start it this way, so you folks won't feel slighted. Okay. So that's all I had for the police department. Anyone have anything else? Sharon and the rec folks with micro, an open house for the seniors up there coming up. And you folks, have you figured out how you're going to give tours of the building? Okay, very good. And you guys are aware of it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right, if there's nothing else,
You're welcome to come eat.
Oh,
thank you very much. Mike Rowe, Town Rec Director. Good evening.
You two ladies are in the same color.
Yeah, we planned it that way.
It's nice.
She
We're
called
also,
me this morning and said,
we're also getting cars that are the same color.
Yeah,
now,
red.
too.
That's like, I hope they pull you over. Ed, make sure you pull them over first day.
Thank you. Mike.
I'm just kidding. I'm sure you know somebody that could help with that. So the fields are getting fixed up. I started rolling them and all that. I spent the past couple of days and last week, a couple of days last week and the weekends before that. I did get my, the pool is uncovered. I uncovered that today and it's being emptied as we speak. So that's always a positive time of year. Baseball for majors and minors, the schedule is online. Yes, Bill, or close to it. It'll be there.
It's scheduled to go online. Yeah.
It'll be there. They start not next week, but the week after. So I think the first game is the 6th of May. Nope, that's not what I wanted you to say. And T-ball Mighty Mites, they start next week. It's not too late to sign up, so please continue to do that. It even says that in the circle. Our senior lunch on the 29th at the new pub safety building. Yes, we are eating in the bays of the fire station. They're going to pull the trucks out. Bill offered to have you pull the truck out if you wanted to do that.
Really, they're going to let me actually touch it.
I offered to do it, but I'm a little scared. I don't think I can handle that. To be perfectly honest. So afterwards, I've already talked with Ed. I've already touched base with Lynette, and we will do a tour of the building to our seniors. That
what
will
are
be
we
there.
doing for tables?
I already talked to Bill. There's tables there. Bill's going to bring a couple more, and there's chairs there. So I've only got about 25 in response so far. I'll send another email out,
Okay.
and the next day just to get a
And give me a
and then
heads
I'll
up.
give you an idea. Yeah. Our fabulous cook. We're having chicken and mashed potatoes and gravy and a salad, and then there's rumors of a strawberry shortcake. So for those that would like to swing by and get some food, and I will buy containers. We'll start doing that so people can take to-go containers.
Thank
So
you
I'll pick
both.
those up.
Yum.
We also confirmed that our other senior luncheon with the West Side is on. We have both bands from the two schools that'll be playing. That's a pizza party over at the West Rutland Town Hall. I think that's the 22nd of May. I think it's a Thursday. So that should be very entertaining in a lot of ways. And I did get my first mowing fix, so I'm kind of excited. That was fun. So Kurt, it was nice to just smell that grass just kind of fly. I couldn't believe it. I had to do it. I just had to do it. So I did get my
Mowed it
first fix.
already?
I have. I mowed the baseball field. It needed it, and it was just enjoyable. The smell of cut grass was overwhelming.
Doesn't take much to excite.
It does not to get me happy. No, it does not.
Keep it up and we're gonna make you pay to have that job.
Yeah, really.
That's
exactly.
true. I do pay in a roundabout way. And that's all I have, unless anybody has.
I think you have a Dewey Field something.
Something about.
Oh,
putting the
yeah,
lights
sorry.
on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So,
I can't believe you forgot about it.
I have my list and stuff. So
Number 2.
I got
in
a
your
phone
packet.
call the other day and he's like, and I knew who it was because it popped up and he's like, yeah, I forgot. And I'm like, what are we talking about here? And he's like, well, you asked me about a quote like 8 months ago and it was under a piece of paper and I found it. And I'm like, okay. So the only game in town that can do this is LaFaso to remove the lights and the poles from Dewey and take care of all the electrical part, which is what Bill has in your packet. I did talk with Matt and Sharon. It'll be something that we have to schedule, and I'm not going to do it right now because we're playing, and I'm just not going to have them tear up whatever they might have to tear up.
So we're not gonna have lights at Dewey any longer.
Well, I haven't turned that switch on for
Okay,
20 years. I mean,
Probably a
it's
good
like
thing
9
to
o'clock
have
at
it.
night.
Yeah.
I mean, the kids they
No.
finish at 7:30.
no, we had,
The adult softball.
Carbine had
and- yeah,
their-
there was back in the day when you had a lot. Yes.
yeah,
We
okay.
kids aren't, and adult softball kind of, to be honest, they kind of ruined it for themselves. So,
Yep.
And I think some people quoted like, let them play during the day. We don't have the 60 to 70,000 to put in new lights for a small period of time. So anyway, the poles are in very bad shape and the lights are, and that's been my concern for a while. So,
reaching out to them a while ago when we talked to other companies and they wouldn't touch it, which was ironic, but we won't mention those names. LaFosso's has given you a quote to have it done. I talked to Dave and he also, LaFosso will just pile it up and then the highway guys can come and dispose of it. And if anybody, I guess we can talk about that because they're just going to cut the poles into 8-foot lengths and just going to bring them right down to the ground. So they're taking.
What are they? What are they made
They're
of?
wooden.
Oh, are they?
Yeah,
Okay.
Telephone
Yeah,
poles.
they're telephone poles.
Oh.
The big ones.
They're pressure
The
treated.
big
telephones.
ones. Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
So there might be some people that might want to, but he's going to chunk them in 8-foot lengths. Bill's also going to be part of it because we're going to remount our
yeah, but
camera
that's
on
nothing
one.
you wanna burn in a,
No, not
no,
burn. No,
that's
no,
got
no, no,
grease.
They could be
no.
used
No, they for like a pole barn for,
fence poles or something.
yeah, stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Well, it's easier to, I understand what they're doing, but some people would prefer them in longer lengths, so maybe that.
I mean, I'm
Well, if
assuming
you want to reuse them for something.
Well, I've
like-
got a canal in my backyard.
that's
that-
up for negotiation that when we get to that point, he had talked about chunking them up and piling everything there and then highway will dispose of the light fixtures and whatever. So we will no longer have any pole. And then the old poles that are around the tennis courts as well.
Okay.
So all of that stuff will be taken care of once this would be out of depreciation and I will
Okay.
obviously set it up for whenever it fits their schedule, but after we're done using the field, which would be, July or August that they could get in there and depending on their schedule too.
Okay. Rec committee, do you have a recommendation for us? Okay, so the motion then is,
Approve this project according to the quote from LaFosso Electric.
okay, the amount is 10,280. Money to come from the depreciation account. Is there a second, Sharon?
yes,
Okay, motion's made and seconded.
The
it's got his hand up.
Yep.
the cost is you're looking at if they remove the stuff.
Oh.
So that 1,500, we're not, no.
Okay.
You're on the 80, whatever, because they're just gonna
87,
pile it.
780.
So they added 1,500 if they're gonna truck it over to wherever they truck it over.
Okay.
We have the personnel that can
So-
do that. So
So
it's
Matt
even
just,
cheaper.
Matt and Sharon just revised their motions.
Okay,
We
I
did.
just wanted to make that clear.
Okay, good. Thank you for that.
hmm
All right. Any further discussion on that? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0.
Good.
Good. I'm glad because I know that's been a
It's been
concern.
of mine for a
while.
long time.
Yeah,
I
good.
just want to get it down so it doesn't come down.
Yes, right.
I
Anything
think
else?
that's all I have. I'm pretty busy, so.
Any questions from any select board members? Nope. Okay. Thank you very much.
Awesome, thank you.
All right. Dave Sears, Town Highway Commissioner.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
So I went out on a limb and made a command decision and we took the plow frames off all of our trucks. So if it snows,
It's on you.
you guys are on
You're on your own.
So we got that, that's all taken care of. All the trucks have been, neutralized with salt. We have a salt neutralizer that we spray on them and wash them off. So that's all been taken care of. Things have been put away. We spent some time, last week. We opened up the last few catch basins that we had to use hydraulic power for on Post Road to do some inspections for some rebuild stuff we've got to do down there this summer. Earlier than has been in my tenure, Quarterline Road and Boardman Hill have been graded. Brownies have been delivered for payment. We are all happy. We put the Cedar Avenue sign back up again. Target is reestablished.
In the last 2 days.
Yeah, well, might get 3 out of it this time.
Okay.
We started, actually, we got it taken apart today, but the sandbox up at by the salt shed where the residents get their sand, winter sand, just was it wasn't quite big enough, and every time we put sand in it, we hit it with a loader and tipped it over 3 or 4 times. And so took it all apart, and we're going to make it bigger and better, make it jump higher, run faster. So we're kind of working on that right now. Trying to do some stuff that doesn't cost a lot of money because we're pretty thin on our budget. So just trying to kind of tiptoe out of the rest of the season. Somewhere in your packet should be an agreement for a grant that we got for road erosion inventory from Planning Commission. To just need a signature on that so that we can memorialize that and move that forward.
Okay, this is a road erosion inventory agreement between the Rutland Regional Planning Commission and the town of Rutland. Sum not to exceed $5,584 unless we amend it, but that's what the proposal is.
So we already have the grant through the state.
Okay.
So this was the agreement with the Regional Planning Commission. So if you go to page 3, I believe it is, if we have
Our match. Yes.
Yeah, we have 2 options. We can either just pay them a lump sum, or we can do it in kind. My option is to do it in kind. That way,
Okay.
you know, the guys on the crew, I don't believe any of the 3 were here when it was done the first time. So this will get these guys out in the field, get them to lay eyes on each and every one of these culvert crossings, understand, you know, what the damages are, what the repairs need to be. So we will most definitely choose the in-kind option, which is what I emailed Jeremy today and told him that's what we wanted to do. So
well, what I have is it wasn't an option. It was just the town will provide in-kind match of $1,396. Am I looking at the right thing?
Somewhere along the way, there's one where it says you can pay just the lump sum if you want to, and I might have been on page 1. I didn't memorize the thing, but it doesn't either way. We're on the hook for the $1,396 one way or another. We either write them a check or go out and stand with them in the field, and we will stand with them in the field.
Okay. So road erosion, highway folks, are you okay with this? Okay. And this will require a motion to approve, and it looks like somebody needs to sign on behalf of the town. So
Move to approve, and have Mary sign.
Second.
motion's made and seconded to approve this contract with the Regional Commission, with the chair to sign. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Could have been your time to designate somebody else to sign, so you wouldn't be on the
No,
hook.
could have, right? So I'm just flipping through. Here it is. Okay. So motion carries 5-0.
Perfect.
And I'm signing.
And the one last final thing that I have is last week we had a meeting with Stephanie from our RPC about the JP sidewalk project, of which there's about an hour and a half of my life that I'll never get back.
Is that an in-kind match?
I did take particular notice that our second highway committee member was absent from that said meeting.
Oops. I had 2 pre-bid meetings I had to go to. It was either sit through that or go to pre-bid.
I understand. So. I'm just saying. Yeah. No man left behind.
So that could reflect.
Oops.
Okay.
And then one other thing, and I don't have it with me, I'm sorry, but I gave a copy to Joe after that meeting the other day, the excavator.
Yes, I passed those out to everybody. Everybody has those on their desks.
One other little thing.
Yeah.
Okay, what are we looking at?
Just
Joe?
little.
Yeah, I did see it earlier, so
Um,
what we have is, it looks like a balance sheet on top and that
yes.
Devlin quotation.
So the highway, this is a highlighted amount is that the carryover amount in the highway budget beginning of this fiscal year.
Where are you finding that?
And then the next pages are the description of the excavator that we're looking at. And the various attachments, different parts to it, and then the last page shows the grand total, a couple of another attachment with the cleanup bucket and the pads for being on the road, those charges, and then this. So the buy board contract is similar to the state bid, only this is a nationwide bidding process. So the deduction would be 35,817.98, and that,
Okay,
those are the deductions. So it gives us the next, the total on the machine of 127,619.46. And then in the box to the left that's highlighted in yellow, is the purchase of the trailer at 17,500. It's kind of a package deal. So the total would be the 145,119.46. And what the highway has been proposing to the board, if you would choose to accept this idea, is to purchase this equipment for the town, using a portion of the carryover money that we have. And there are some overages with, in Dave's budget this year with equipment maintenance. So when it's all said and done, we'll have about 140 to 150,000 still in reserve in the carryover fund if we had some other fiasco jump out at us and bite us. I think this is a decent way to go. I know we had a long discussion, or fairly not long, but discussion about the pros and cons of renting versus owning, and the biggest plus for owning a machine is that there will be, when Dave rents a machine, he has to use that machine. To get your money's worth, you have to plan all this work in a specific time. Something comes up, weather doesn't agree, or some other fiasco, and they don't do it, then sometimes you don't get everything done and you don't actually get your money's worth. And the convenience of having our own machine in house is you take a day like, or sometime this week, and the guys plan to do something, but it's not happening because somebody didn't show up with some specialized equipment Dave need. They can go down and do stuff like work on the shared use path or something. You don't have to try to schedule evering into a certain specific time.
you just threw that shared use path in, didn't you?
Well, I brought it up because it's a logical thing that there's work that needs to be done. So what Dave would end up trying to do is rent this machine like we've been doing and do some highway stuff and then try to work on that. But if we do have the machine there and our own, and there will be a lot of other things that this machine can be used for. There's any number of things. I know that.
Let me go back to
Sure.
the money
Right.
in the carryover. That was as of June 30th this past year. Then we hit the salt issue. Then we hit the overage. Then do we have enough?
So to my understanding, the salt, Dave has some money in his budget, approximately, I think $78,000 could be used for paving or whatever, but was used to cover the salt
Okay.
already. The only other thing I believe in his budget that's going to be over this year was the equipment maintenance.
Yeah.
And so that would come out of that money, but as a rule, we don't have to dip into that carryover money. It's kind of that, it's there. And one year we used it because we had inadvertently had too much money in the budget. So we used it for paving or stuff. It's kind of that cushion for the unexpected, but one of the things that I know that the auditors talk
Yes.
about is kind of getting that down, and I don't agree with it 100%, but using it for this type of thing. The other alternative would be that we put this on the ballot and ask the voters to approve this purchase, and there'll be a slight increase in your taxes for 1 year. At this point, we have the money because this is money the town's accumulated through its highway budgets management over the past
So
years. And
We have the money to buy this already.
Yeah.
the money in the carryover is a 333,000. And that's as of.
Okay, my concern is for the taxpayer. We've hit them pretty hard.
Right, we're not going to ask for any increase in taxes, we're not going to ask for anything. The way this would be purchased would be through the new equipment line on Dave's budget. And we would use the money out of the carryover to purchase this piece of equipment, so there won't be an additional tax. If we were to put this on the budget or on the ballot, then the voters would approve it and there would be a certain, amount
You're
that
not
would.
proposing.
But that we're not, we're proposing using the carryover money to make this purchase and move forward with it.
Matt.
So again, with the salt issue, it sounds like what we're talking about right now then is delaying paving as a result.
No,
of that.
no, you can explain that better to me than I can, Dave, if you want.
Sure.
Paving.
So
Yep.
the overage in the salt was about, I don't have the number in front of me, I believe it's $74,000. The $78,000 in paving is money that we got back in the Class 2 paving grant from the state from paving Post Road. So when we applied for the grant, we got the grant, we paved out of our budget, and then we got back $78,000 from AOT or VTrans, I'm sorry, for the grant. So that money comes back into the budget as revenue, and then it just sits there. I don't necessarily have access to it. It's not like, it doesn't go back into the paving line. It comes back into my budget as revenue. But in the back of my mind, I know that it's there. So if everything stays fluid, I've got another $78,000 to spend in paving.
So that amount is not budgeted for.
Correct.
And so in
Right.
a normal
Okay.
year, if you didn't, if everything else worked out according to budget, then that would just end up being surplus.
Exactly.
So, and I sort of remember the discussion at the time, we weren't going to count on that. So state aid, that's a separate line and we did budget for that, but that's general state aid. But state grants, we didn't propose anything because we weren't sure whether we were going to get it. Is that the line that you're now saying we got, what, 78,000, 74,000?
Right. So we're talking about last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
The discussion that we had this year was because we didn't really have, that was the budget we just
Okay.
was approved, but this was the previous year budget. And we never, we applied for the state 2 grant in January and we never find out until June. So you can't count on it. It's not tangible money.
Right.
Okay.
And last year we got it, so we have the option of that 78,000 that came back to apply it toward paving if we wish, but it just goes back into the highway budget, but not in any specific.
So I guess
So if I don't for paving, it goes back into this carryover line.
Yeah.
So I have more questions, but we have so much.
Yeah, let's move this to the next meeting. Cause
Okay.
I just got this too, so I want to flip
Oh,
through
okay,
it.
good.
So,
All right.
cause I wasn't here at the committee meeting.
So is highway committee going to be able to meet or do you need to meet before? Because our next meeting is actually next Tuesday.
Yeah, we don't need to meet. I just need to review it.
So, well, and as you're reviewing, I guess, and deciding whether or not you need to meet, I mean, part of what I would like to hear is, are there any other plans for this carryover money? What other projects might there be that we would be prioritizing against, if we're doing this versus anything else? And, I'd hate to, I'm sort of like Joe, I don't want to spend it all down and then have something happen. And
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have a box culvert coming
then
up on Stratton Road.
obviously more detail when we talked about the cost of renting versus because, if you rent for So, you know, what would be the lifespan of this equipment and therefore how much would you spend renting during that time or what would?
That's the math I want to do for you.
Okay.
That's the math I want to do for you. I know you had a question about that last time, so I want to do it out.
Yeah, that was my question too.
Okay.
I'm
So,
familiar with all the rentals and all
Bill,
that, so.
do you think, will you be able to answer the questions by next Tuesday when we're meeting? So we can also add this, purchase, to the next meeting.
One other
You will,
thing
please.
along those lines too, Joe, is just the type of equipment we're talking about here. Is it, you know, you've talked about how it can be used for different things. You know, what's the extent of its versatility? I'd hate to see us like make the investment and then find out, oh, well, actually, you know, to do this one particular thing, we got to go rent something anyway. So just like concern as well as renting. Does renting give us more flexibility than if we sink the money into something that we, you know, may have limited use for? I'm not sure.
And a quick question from me. Where's the dealer for this equipment and,
Middlebury.
okay,
G-Stones.
okay, oh, okay,
G-Stone.
all right. All right, any other questions that we should have the highway folks look into?
Question for Dave.
Okay, Dave?
Dave, this may be in your paving plan, I'm not sure, but is the intersection of Killington and I think it's Deborah on your radar?
Killington and Deborah?
Whichever, I get those streets confused, whichever one that is there that goes off into the neighborhood that is in need of paving.
Are you talking about that Columbus, Susan, David,
Yeah.
Deborah, Nancy neighborhood? That neighborhood.
Yeah, so not Susan, but the next one up, whichever street that is.
Columbus. Columbus is
Sure.
going up. Yeah, that whole neighborhood is what I just put out to bid. I got the bids back. We awarded that last week or last meeting. There's not enough money in the budget to do the whole development, but I'm going to do as much of it as I can.
Well, the intersection
Go ahead.
with Killington is just disintegrating right now. There's craters there. It holds water.
Yep.
And then
That's on the list.
the corner of that street's just kind of gone. And so every time the school bus turns on there, it drops the rear tires in a hole and
Oops.
you know,
It
so
jostled a little.
jostle. Yeah.
That's a problem with the last time that Killington Avenue was paved. They didn't pave the aprons back. So I don't know if it was overlaid. I don't know what the situation was, but Killington Avenue is higher than Columbus. So,
Yeah.
And then when they paved past it, they just paved past it. They didn't do an apron. They didn't go up Columbus 10, 15 feet or anything like that. So Columbus is at the elevation that it was at whenever it was paved. And then they put 2 or 3 inches on Killington and raised it that much. And now it's an inverted speed bump. But it's on the list.
Plus it now it's digging down too. There's a couple of large potholes there.
After July 1, it will be, that's obviously, that's a short run. So that'll be on the list. Again, like I said, I can't do it all. I can't do it all this year. So I got to go up there at some point here in the near future and figure out what each
need some cold
and kind of do the whole thing.
We might need a little bit of cold patch in the meantime.
Okay.
This is pretty bad.
Okay, anything else? Highway and that's on our agenda for next week. So, okay.
Not a lot to report on that sidewalk project. We just looked at the conceptual plans. There's a few things.
This is JP sidewalk,
Yeah, and that's
the
what
meeting that Kurt missed. Yeah.
on Thursday. There'll be stuff going forward to let once there were some issues about the right of way where it is. So once V-Trans and our engineering firm, everybody can agree. It's kind of the idea to go show the neighbors where this is going to be, because one of the concerns would be that if somebody really planted their feet and didn't want to let this happen, most of it's in the right of way. There is a little bit that's on private property, but not much.
Okay.
So there's not a lot out of that meeting, but like Dave said, it's pretty dry stuff, but it's part of this 5-year project.
Yeah.
That everybody gets to weigh into.
It costs 7 times more than what it actually should.
Right.
That's grant funded, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
that $700,000 sidewalk that we should be able to build for about 100 grand. If, we just went and built it.
Well. All right.
Yeah. Welcome to government.
All right. Thank you, Dave. I think
All right,
you're
thank you.
off.
Good night.
Yep.
Good
Right.
night. And next is Kari Clark, Town Clerk and Treasurer.
Hi.
Hi there.
Not much to report tonight. Just a reminder that our tax payments are due in a couple of weeks for the last payment of our fiscal year. It's due on the 10th. Reminders are going out in the paper and such places, social media and all of the usual things. So that's really all I have. You guys already did the liquor license, so thank you and watch out.
Kari did, sent around information that she received from the Secretary of State's office about the pending federal legislation, which may or may not pass, on voter registration or voter re-registration. So thank you for that. That was good information. And then Kari also did, she was secretary for a Board of Civil Authority tax abatement meeting earlier. She did a nice job. Kari, I've got a couple of suggestions for fairly minor changes on what you sent me, but thank you for doing that. That was a good write-up. Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And Matt's got a question.
Sure.
Well, an answer, boy.
Okay.
Kari, you asked a question about the comp time policy.
Yes.
And how it gets paid out basically. And so my understanding is that it accumulates at time and a half and it gets paid out as regular. So if you work an hour of overtime, you get an hour and a half of comp time that goes in the bank. So if you want to you can take an hour and a half off, or you can get paid out. You get paid out as straight time because it's basically it's been converted to straight time.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay. I'm glad I have clarification. That's kind of how the policy read. So I will talk to some department heads so that we're all on the same page. Since it's new, it was just kind of a question, and I know that some people were reading it a little differently. I was reading it differently as well. So thank you, and I'll follow up with those people tomorrow. We can have a discussion. Thank you for clearing that up.
Well,
I have a quick question. You said that I'm paying some about sick time.
I guess it's straight time.
Huh?
I guess it's straight.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Anything else for our town clerk or treasurer? Nope. Okay. Thank you again, Kari.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
it.
Have a good night.
You too. Mike Delehanty?
Did we talk to Mike?
Yeah.
He had an obligation tonight. He is planning for the next regular meeting.
Okay, good. I had asked if Bill would ask Mike for an update on our blighted buildings, and some enforcement that we had asked Mike to look into. So we should hear something from him in a couple of weeks. Okay, Joe Denardo, Public Safety Building Clerk.
So, last Wednesday, the protection under the sink for the handicap was installed at the station, the little board. That was done on Friday. And then I met with Vic and Ed Clark there. I think it was on Friday. There was a bunch of us there. They have got back in. They've started the grading. The bat should be done next week. The enclosure will be put up for the impound yard for the police. That's on the back part of the lot. And I want everybody, the back part of the lot is not paved out where the generator is. You'll see out there and where the stuff is going in. All of that area is the work that we negotiated with Fabian to do above what originally was planned. That was basically I'm not even sure what the plan was, but they moved the swale and the stormwater retention pond, all of that stuff was moved to the edge of the property to increase the backyard and do the regrading out there. So at some point, we'll have to figure out when and where to budget funds if we want that backyard paved. But that, just so everybody understands that that wasn't part of the original plan, and this is all additional. It gets us somewhere between 3 and 5 additional parking spaces, depending on how it's configured. But they'll be there next week to do that. Gary has been there working on the punch list, just figuring out little odds and ends that are going on. So I see him almost every day and just see if he needs anything. He did put the numbers up for the address. They're out front now.
Great.
So we got that done. They will be, and I keep telling him every day that make sure the dinosaurs are all gone before they pave it. Fabian's there and they got 2 machines there, but I think the bank is almost all done. It looked like, and they're putting fabric down and that is seated.
Yeah.
It's kind of neat if that fabric could just stay, 'cause that's a really nice color.
Yeah.
And that really looks good. But, that's erosion control out there. All around the property, they have,
That was green,
the
like grass.
green. It's like, it's what I said, it's like AstroTurf, you know, just put it down.
Hey,
looks
maybe
good.
we'll see if Mike Rowe wants to mow that once it's done.
Could tie a string to him and just push him down, pull him back.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, they're walking the machine up and down the excavator, up and down that bank, packing it and grading it. So it can be done. Around the edges, you'll see if you go there, there's, the burlap they put down with the seeds, fabricated mulch. When this is all done, that building was designated to have all of these little concrete barriers put up so that you don't drive where you're not supposed to. And I talked with the site guys today, engineer Patrick from, Edmund Kessering, about that, and he's okay if we don't put those along the west side of the property, because there's nothing to hit, nothing to drive into, and it will facilitate, all the parking places will be designated in line, everything will be done. There are 3 parking places in front of the building where it says public safety building, and he recommends we put those 3 down there. So they will put those there. My suggestion would be that we put them down there. They don't necessarily have to be pinned to the driveway. And then when snow plowing stops, they could pick them up. And because they stick out 5 feet from the building, which is going to make plowing that front a nightmare if you nailed it down. So I think I'm going to recommend to Gary, if the board's okay with that little change, we won't put them on there and we'll put them out front, and that, will prevent any, they're worried about somebody driving into the building, but during the winter, if you have to plow around those, it's going to leave an ugly mess there, and it's just going to be really difficult. So I think that'll be okay. When they're done, they will stripe everything, designate the parking areas, and then there will be striping and like hash marks that goes along the west side of the building where the awnings and the doors are, so that people should know that you're close to the building and don't. And he asked me what color, and I said, just do them in white. Cause they could stripe that in yellow or whatever, but I think it would look better if all the striping is white.
Okay, yes.
So that's where we are, but probably within a couple of weeks, just about all the outside work, everything will be done. The big item that's still out there in the bushes is the, automatic transfer switch for the sprinkler pump. And to the best of my knowledge, I've looked through all the plans I can find. That was not designated on the drawings. It is not required, I believe, by the state of Vermont that to be on there, which makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. The electrical engineer did provide the wiring for it, and I figured he was anticipating it would be done. It requires a separate transfer switch from the main building because the fire pump has its own electrical feed from the pole. In a building like that, where that is the designated fire suppression system, it has to have its own feeds, therefore it has to have its own transfer switch. You all had in your packet what that cost is going to be to us if we want to do that.
So this is number 3.
Yep.
and Southern Vermont Sprinkler Service. And it sounds like this is a recommendation from you that, could you like walk us through the numbers?
So if you look on the right-hand side, this is the part that really kind of makes the sense.
Okay.
The transfer switch is 32,327, the proper one to be in there.
Mhm.
The one they put in was 9,870, so the difference is 22,457. If that's our cost. I was trying to find if it was a slip up on somebody's part that it was designated to be in the building and they missed it and put the wrong one in, but I cannot find any information to that effect.
Okay.
I believe the electrical engineer figured it was going to be done, and the sprinkler designing people and installers, because this is not required, just put a regular controls in there. So I guess it's our choice. I mean, I don't believe we should not do this. I think it should be done.
So why does it say not that the project's not gonna exceed $34,000?
In the main part of the letter.
It's 34,683.
Yeah.
He didn't explain that to me. Gary or Vic gave me this and explained it to me. But
Okay. Maybe,
So-
maybe we should get a little clarification on that before we.
Right.
it says the cost for the panel with no work included is 32,327, which is that number. To complete the work described above will not exceed 34, included in this price is freight, labor, material. And I don't know if there's some difference in what it's gonna be. But they have everything.
Saying it's $2,500 of labor.
So what, I guess the question is what
Well,
what
according to
number
this,
do we approve? Because I like the one that says 13,586. Way better, but that doesn't look like it's a player in here.
no,
I don't know what that is.
yeah, I'm not, he just explained the numbers on the right. They didn't explain the numbers on the left. It
Yeah.
just care of the owner was the amount that we had.
Yeah, because they
This-
don't make much
So
sense.
this sprinkler price is to Vic. So should we maybe get something from Vic saying what it's gonna cost the town before we
Yeah.
vote on something?
Yeah,
Instead, something on like his letterhead that says it's gonna cost you this much.
If you want it, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and the other portion of this is the lead time for this is 6 weeks. So if we approve this, whenever we approve this, it'll be 6 weeks before this switch is there. In the meantime, they are not going to hook up the regular fire pump because that would mean going back and redoing it again.
Yeah.
So we're still on kind of borrowed time with the truck fill pump, which kind of messes up Chris's activities. So
And let me ask you this. So
sooner rather than later is a good idea.
if it's 22, it's gonna be at least $22,000, probably more. Where's the money gonna come from?
Well, that's the next question. Do we have the money in the capital improvement fund to cover this if we need to?
She's getting thin.
I was getting out but I don't remember this having,
No, this hasn't been on the radar.
no, okay, so,
This
yeah,
hasn't
I don't
been-
remember it either, so.
We never got a price. I've been waiting since we talked about this, that we could get this price. And so they finally, I think, got back to Vic and gave us this price. So what we need from them is, not to exceed price.
Yeah,
Whole thing.
for the whole thing.
Right, we won't be paying for, I don't believe, any additional labor. They're doing this at their expense, taking out the controls that are in there. I'm not sure if the electrician, because JJ will have to be involved with this, and whether or not they're gonna charge us any extra. So, and I told him I'd get it here tonight, and we need to
So
get,
we're meeting next week.
I'm going to have to,
Maybe this
I'll
can
be
be
on the phone with him in the
Okay.
morning, and I will tell him the board needs a not to exceed price for the change, including electrical
not,
costs.
not this hand
Yeah,
scratching.
No.
this is a little confusing. And I don't know if I missed
Otherwise,
something.
we'll approve it for 13,000.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell them that the board liked the
Okay.
13,000
Yeah,
number.
we'll highlight the one we want to approve and
Right.
sign underneath.
I did, like I said, our drawings do not explain this or do not show this, and it looks like there's a couple of pages missing. I did find some in the sprinkler room, but still I can't find, somewhere there should be a set of drawings that shows this and what this thing is, but I'm pretty sure that they bid it according to how it was designed.
Right.
And there was that glitch between the electrical engineer, the sprinkler people. The other thing that I did look into where there are 2 exit signs and 1 pull station that we have had to add to the building since the inspection. Those were not on the drawings when it was drawn. My concern there is those drawings were approved by somebody in the state's division of fire safety or construction, but they missed those. And when the inspection was done, well, you got to have one here. So I don't know if the guy that reviewed the plans is not the same guy that inspected the building, but we bear the cost for them, because if they had shown those in the plans, because the plans have to be approved before this went out to bid. So I don't know.
The engineer needs to eat that cost. He drew the plans.
Well,
He didn't put it there.
The architect.
but that or
Well, it was a engineer that designed the alarm system.
whoever did or when the state reviewed the plans, they should have caught that and said, oh, you gotta have a pull station and these other 2. So
Well, the state's not going to pay for it. So,
no,
yeah.
but if we have to pay the state any more because the building costs more than the original plan review, I think I'd have the conversation about telling them, well, we're gonna deduct this amount because when you reviewed the plans, you missed these 2 vital things that cost us about $2,000.
Yeah, but the state's gonna say our plan review doesn't matter. The engineer should not have the knowledge to engineer it to the state specs.
But that's why they review the plans.
And where that pole station had to get added was a very obvious place that needed a pole station.
But it, so anyway, that's,
This is from not tallied. I just kept making. I left as of 12/3/24 is 146,472.
we've spent some since then.
Yes,
Last time
last
time we looked at it, we were right at $100,000 or just under.
and that might very well be. Because then we approved an expenditure of 33,000 for the interior outfitting. Anyway, I have not reconstructed this every time we've expended.
Yeah.
So we'll need to try to find that information. I'll talk to Kari and see if we can come up with
All right.
where we are for our next meeting, and I'll get a more clear project cost for doing that.
Okay, that would be helpful.
Yep.
Anything else?
No. Sure we
All
are.
right, okay, John Paul is not on. Okay, Barbara, thank you for your patience.
Okay, this is gonna fall in the category, you won't believe it. But you've heard me go on and on and on about working on the subdivision ordinance. So it looks like, it was that all that work was for naught. We were approaching it the wrong way. We spoke with the town attorney last week, and to go forward with that, even to amend it at any scale. There is too much other regulation in it, and it probably wouldn't hold up in court because we only have on the books of subdivision ordinance. So we probably have to, we'll start from scratch and come up with something. Well, the group is still talking about what we should come up with, but it may not have the protections in it that the subdivision ordinance has.
We
So
thought
might
it
have
had.
to claw back some stuff.
Yeah.
To just have.
You mean there's too much stuff in the current ordinance? Is that what you're saying?
It goes into the category of zoning.
Mhm.
Is what our town attorney has advised us. But we don't have a zoning bylaw or ordinance or anything, so that's why it wouldn't hold up in court.
Well,
So
that's
we have
one
to
reason.
pull.
The other reason is it is so out of date. The subdivision ordinance was adopted so long ago that there's references in there that are no longer in statute. So there's two reasons why it was just wildly unenforceable. Yeah.
And it was amended at least once, and some things were put in there that are just not going to pass muster. So
Perfect.
yeah,
Less government. That's what I love.
Well, less protection for the town. You and I see this. We've talked about this. We see it differently.
So we'll get back to work and come to you with maybe some suggestions.
Okay.
Thank you for your hard work, Barbara.
Yeah.
We appreciate you.
Yeah, I didn't do much. I mean, it was Bill, Norm, and Dana who did all the work that ended up being futile, but
Maybe not, because if they hadn't have gotten that far, there would be the lingering question of why didn't we make the old one work? Shouldn't we have done it that way? But no, they pretty much answered that question for the planning commission.
yeah, they got to a point where this is not working, so we pulled Kevin in and why? So more later.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Next, Larry is not on. Okay. Marcia Chioffi.
Hi, everybody. I am here.
Hi, Marcia.
So, Mr.'s office is off the wall busy at this time of the year. This week we have been on site visits right through the end of the week. We have a lot of properties to look at with additions, deletions, new properties. We've got some properties up in Pennock that are new that are going to take an awful lot of time for us to assess. Other than that, bid packages have gone out. We have not heard back from any of the approved vendors that the state has listed. The only other thing is, while listening to the gentleman talk about what's going on at the Diamond Run Mall, I heard you say that you would be in touch with different departments as to see how they would be affected. I didn't hear you mention how the listers department would be affected, which is the money maker of the money not maker. So
It's not, Marcia, it's not it's not on the municipal checklist because it's Act 250 deals with physical and department things. We didn't omit you on purpose. It's just that I don't believe getting input from the listers is one. But if you want to give us input, you heard me raise the cynical concern about, what if everything is gone and then there's a request to decrease the value? So I'm aware of it. So if you want to
Right.
give us anything we should be watching for, I'd
Well,
appreciate
and
that.
that's exactly
Yeah.
what I'm talking about, you know,
Okay.
when and if the portion of the mall is demolished, you know, how that's going to affect the value of that property and how it's going to affect the taxpayers because it's going to be gone. In the past years, as you know, as the mall declined, we have gone from, I would say, somewhere around 25 million, and we're now down to maybe I'd have to check my figures, but maybe 11 million of taxes, tax revenue from what we are getting from BAI. So, you know, it's going to hurt us. It really is until.
Let's not assume anything yet, but do give us the information because I raised that concern. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So we'll gather that information and get it to you as to where we stand right now. And if partial or whatever part of that mall is, demolished.
I don't really, Marcia, I don't think the town should be taking a stance of keeping a blighted building standing for tax revenue purposes. Like, yes, it will impact the town, but we've been trying to get rid of this place forever.
Actually, demolition might be improving the value.
It might be.
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah.
Let's get this thing gone. And hopefully getting it gone will get Walmart moving and we'll have some good tax revenue from that.
Well, absolutely. And I agree with you 100%, Kurt. But in the meantime, between the time that portions of that mall is demolished and the new Walmart or whatever is going there is established, there's going to be a gap of revenue coming from BAI.
Possibly some gap. But remember, the thing that threw me, Marcia, was the fact that there was a separate request for the demolition, a separate Act 250. We haven't seen it yet, but a separate proposal for the demolition. And before the Act 250 amendment to build. And I was not expecting that. So that's why I asked the questions that I did. At any rate, there would always be a gap. Even if we had
I agree, Mary.
So this maybe increases the gap, but we'll wait and see what your numbers say. And you'll want to take a look at the application when it comes in because none of us have seen it. Okay.
Yes, thank you. We would. Yep. But anyway, I can just let you know that looking back at our records, we are about a month ahead of where we were last year with site visits and doing the assessment of new builds, property taken parcels off the map. So we're very happy as to where we are right now. And we should be able to meet that June 6th lodging of our grand list and not have to apply to PVNR for an extension to lodge the grand list.
Yeah. Good work. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I've got some super duper people working for me. Kathy is totally engrossed in the business personal property. She's doing a great job. The business personal property returns have been coming in slow, except from Friday until today. We probably received 150 returns. So Kathy is diligently working on recording all of that and putting it into the G&K system. But I can tell you that we need to revisit this for next year. I'm not happy with, well, it's not that I'm not happy with the G&K system, but it's overwhelming. It really is. And we need to look at what we can do going forward. And I've talked to Katie Langlois, and I've asked Katie how she deals with business personal property. And the city of Rutland takes whatever they present and they plug it into their system. We have fortunately had Gail Gantic, who was very judicious in looking at what was presented and where old equipment went to. But I think we're at a point right now where we just can't dive that deep into what's going on. So anyway, but yeah, everything's going great. Busy as bees, and we'll be ready to launch a grand list as we should by June 6th.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other questions for our listers? If not, thank you very much, Marcia.
All right. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, board.
Thanks, Marcia.
Okay, Town Fire Chief Chris Clark.
I'm doing.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Not a lot to report. We're coming up on parade season, so we'll be doing a bunch of those here in the next month. The last couple weeks, we've been to Chittenden and Proctor for some mutual aid fires. We've been doing a lot of training on Wednesday nights with all the new guys, learning how to pump water and all that stuff now that it's getting warmer out. And I think that's about it. I mean, we got the open house coming up, so we're getting the station ready. And I know Mike's having his senior citizen discount or senior citizen dinner at the fire station, so we'll have it all ready for him. And
hey, you'll be old someday.
Someday, not in the near future, I hope.
Oh, I know. Did you hear my request earlier that maybe have some handouts for the open house, fire safety tips, that kind of thing? So when people show up, they have a little, not necessarily for the seniors, but for the May 17th open house.
Yep, I have a guy that does the fire prevention. I'll get right on him to get all that stuff out.
I thought you might, so thank you very much. Okay, any questions for our fire chief? Anything else for Joe Denardo's punch list?
I don't believe so. One thing that was on the list, I don't know if he talked about it, was that broken computer wire in the wall. I don't know, computer, telephone, whatever it was for the internet in the office. So it needs a wire pulled.
Okay, Bill says it's on the list.
Okay, perfect. That was the only other thing.
Okay, well, thank you for keeping an eye out for those things.
All right.
So
Thank you.
Chris, so I can is that in your office?
No, it's in the other office.
The next door one? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. I'll make sure they know, because I think there was a question as to what that was.
Okay. All right, if there's nothing else, thank you, Chief. Appreciate it. Yeah, no, it's Bill Sweet, Town Administrator. Good evening. Good evening.
All right. Not too bad. There was a couple things left from the topic for the appointments. So in there, I gave you all the full list of town officials.
Yep.
And that shows any of them that are needing to be filled. They're highlighted in yellow there. That was the 1A. There is the current advertisement we have up, the vacant town positions and their description. So that's up in a few different places. And we can, I'll make adjustments to that based upon tonight. We got a notice recently that there is a new regional planning
geez, yes.
committee for the Rutland Airport. So they are asking us to appoint someone for that. That is on the vacant town list, but that is a new committee. They are reviving that committee. It was one from before, so they're reviving that one for going forward.
That's 1D in your packet, and I served on this, but it was so long ago. I'm thinking at least 10 years ago. I can't remember why it came up at the time or why I went on it at the time. So
Probably doing some expansion there.
and I think that's what they're looking at now.
Upgraded the runway.
Yeah. That might very well be it. So anyway, yes, let's add that to the list. And if anybody has interest in the airport,
On the list.
thank you.
Pilot out there in the town somewhere.
I think we do.
We do. Yeah.
Pennington. perhaps.
So that wraps up that number. So that's everything that from the packet
Okay.
underneath there. Number 4 in your packet is the agreement for scope of work for the ground penetrating radar survey of the cemetery next door for the middle section. This is the agreement. They will. Once it's signed, he'll schedule it, and he knows he's not going to be. He's payable. Yeah, on July 2nd. That's when it'll get submitted. It's actually $100. This is in the budget. We included this in the budget, so this is just the agreement to do the work.
It's part of the for the town hall.
Yes, next door.
What, $40,000? Is
Nope.
it that part of the?
Nope,
Is this a
this
separate?
The cemetery maintenance. Yep, this
Okay.
is separate. We put it in there. We did a section of it last year.
Remember that?
This is the middle section, and I'll hope to do the next section next year, and then we'll have a whole survey done of it.
We'll have a survey and then we can put a fence up around it, which is
We
kind of what we are required to
right.
do.
So this allows us to determine the full limits of anybody there.
The residents.
Well, not so much escaping, just making sure they're all inside the fence.
How would they get outside the fence?
Well, we don't.
Being the location that they're all at.
We put the fence in the wrong place.
Right, we put the fence in the wrong place.
Put them
So
outside the fence.
surprisingly, we found, I think it was 18 sites that weren't marked
Yeah.
last time, which was surprising.
Yeah.
So, was kind of like, oh, okay, well, maybe we should keep going and make sure we have, at least identify all the plots that are there. So,
Do we get some kind of when they're done, some kind of a map it or some
I-
physical thing we can, cause I know it's flagged.
he put the flags out, and I have a map that I have a picture that I printed out that I marked them on there. So I have the
Right,
locations
so,
on there.
and so some kind of, if at some, I'm just trying to think if at some point we wanted to put some kind of generic markers or.
Marty and I are working on that. He's got some stone pieces that are by the generator. We're gonna put those at ground level so they can be mowed over and not
Okay.
wreck the mower blades. So that is absolutely
Obviously,
gonna
we're
happen.
not gonna be able to identify the residents.
It is. I do have the map.
Yeah.
The original map, but some things aren't lining up right. So it's just one of those things. You got to spend some time with it. But yeah, but
Get
this
the
is
orientation right.
very interesting. Yeah.
As
So-
just I was trying to think, we're doing this, we want to be able.
I don't know when I don't know what the most recent date is on it, but there's some old ones there. I mean, there's some historic names there.
So we have a proposal, $4,900 for this geo model.
Move to approve.
Motion's made and seconded to approve. And it looks like in this particular case, accepted by Mr. Bill Sweet. So you would like to authorize Mr.
I
Bill
will.
Sweet.
Lucky guy.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
All right.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
All in favor, please
Aye.
say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. So
care
I'll
of that.
stick this in the
Just leave it in the
file.
folder. Thank you.
Righty.
And then the last thing from your packet is a notice from the Post Road Solar Project. They have cleared all of their hurdles. If you're by there in the last few days, you'll notice an abundance of flags. They are getting ready to start construction.
Where is it?
It's in the field between the Armory and Route 7. Thomas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
are they coming out to the road too in the cornfield or no?
No, I think they're gonna be on the other side of that hill. They have some,
I see they marked out the property line.
I think where there's the curb cut right there, I think that's their access point.
Yeah.
Like they're coming right there. There were some spots they were not allowed to build on, so.
Yeah.
They were coming so close to the road, and then they brought back another set of prints that showed them closer to the road, and that was a big mess. So then they had to move them back, and it took a while and some going around.
Yep.
They were trying to get a few more panels in there, and
Couldn't
it
quite do
didn't
it.
go so well.
Nope.
Okay.
So that is
So
that.
we haven't, this is their pre-notice, right?
Yeah, this is, I don't expect we're gonna hear anything else from
Pre-site.
them. They begin site preparation. They are doing that. So that is underway. Okay. Next things I have, just a couple of things. The April 29th meeting, I will update the agenda to add those other topics on there, and I will work to get the contract from Consolidated to see if I can get that done back from them before then. Just to update that, so that shouldn't be too bad. And also on your desk is the grant application for VLCT. Looks like.
Is this the safety grant, so-called?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's the one. So we have the back page, back a couple pages are the details of what we're asking for. But every department's kind of involved again this year, so we're trying to cover the bases. We are gonna try again for the highway department for the vehicle monitoring and tracking. And the total cost of it on the front does not match the total at the bottom, because while that is the total cost of the service, we're gonna ask again for the same contribution they gave us last year, which was $1,402. So we're gonna see if we can get that to go through. But we have on there updates to the rec surveillance equipment that would make it more functional. We have the highway department stuff. For the vehicle tracking, we have the highway department is looking for confined space equipment. That's on there. And then for the police and fire, a commercial residential style washer and dryer for the public safety building for not a gear washer, but like a regular washer dryer. So we're gonna see if we're putting that in there too. So
12,413.
yes.
What did you just say about, but that's not the number.
So that is what we're requesting.
Okay.
The numbers above that,
Yep.
that adds up to be a larger number.
Okay. But
But-
this is how much,
We're gonna ask for, right?
and what's our match?
50%.
All right. And does the numbers above add up to that?
We would get back
Times
6,000.
two?
So,
Okay.
yeah, so the $12,000 is the total request. If they approve that, we get 6,000, we get up to $6,000. If we ask for, it's a 50% grant, so a $12,000 application, that's a $6,000.
Yeah, no, I get
Yeah,
that part. But these are a whole lot more.
Right, because those are the full amounts.
Those are the full amounts. So we're not committed to going forward with these whole things, and the decision at the time will have to be made.
If we get the grant.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So on those last two pages, the detail where we kind of explain why we want those things, I put the amount on that thing.
Yeah.
With what we're requesting for that project.
Okay.
So those numbers on the back where it says like line 1, I think it's 29.99, and then line 2 and 3, 1402. Like I broke those down. So those are the totals for those individual things.
Okay. I guess my concern is we've said we're going to be buying these things, and if we get the grant, we're sort of committed, even though our cost would be way more than just half.
No. Well, the only variable there is the highway tracking. We
Right.
did sign up for that. So we are committed to that regardless.
Okay,
We started that last year.
okay.
So we're just hoping to get some more of it offset this year. They basically covered like 6 months worth of it last year, because it was a 2-year agreement. So they covered 6 months of it last year. So we're hoping for another 6 months this year.
So this is an application. Is there a motion? It looks like there's one signature blank.
Correct.
Move to approve and authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. And that goes in the folder.
The last thing I had, Matt, I put that on your desk. That was the only copy of it. Is if you remember, we signed up with the Know Before program for online security training and awareness.
Oh, yeah.
And I liked it. But the execution of the training has not been. Everybody gets emails and reminders,
I
but
do.
it doesn't really.
I only flunked it once. I'll just have people know.
That's okay. I think there's a lot of value and there's still a lot of issues out there, but our agreement is coming up for renewal. And Matt's got the copy of it there. I didn't know, there didn't seem to be a lot of enthusiasm around it. So
All more reason to do it.
But there's some truth to how much.
I don't remember what's total is. Matt, you've got it there. It's
$4,058.75.
it's a 3-year. I think it's over 3 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's including the test emails, which are probably the most important thing.
Yeah.
Keep
So
people
we get those.
How often are people failing those?
Hey,
You know?
just once for me.
There's one person in particular who fails it more than anybody else combined.
You did tell me that.
But that's okay. I mean, it's not okay, but that's we learn from that.
Do we?
I hope so.
That is
I'm
the
trying
goal.
to. I mean, that's the point. So I do. I do.
It'd be money well spent if somebody ever,
Yeah.
end up with, like,
It is
ransomware or
good
something.
prevention, but it's only useful if everybody does the training. So we got to get people to do it. So that's.
Yeah,
So-
I haven't done the training. I get sent with like 5 emails a day or something. You guys sit there and delete them all.
or.
Yeah,
So what did I complete the training? I can't remember.
This is there's new ones. Yeah, I set up
Okay.
some new ones.
Oh,
But there's a lot of different topics. A lot of it's on like phishing, like, emails that come to you that are pretending to be something they're not, and just what to look for online and bad links and stuff. And we have, knock on wood, had very, very few issues. And there was a couple that we've had that were minor, but we were able to deal with them rather quickly. But this is, and mostly because when somebody clicked on a link and they realized it was bad, we were able to take action because they said, "Oh, wait a minute."
yeah.
When I clicked on it, it would be easier. But this is good training. It's very good knowledge. These problems are not going away.
No.
And
Getting more
we do
sophisticated.
get a discount. This program, this relationship started with VLCT promoting this. They offer the discount. The first year we did this for the 3 years, and we are eligible for the same discount. I did try to get a better price, but I couldn't. So that is what it is. There is.
Can we tell how many people actually do the training?
Oh, absolutely. I've got a whole dashboard of all since day one of all the training that's been
Well,
done.
how many, just generally, how many people in the town,
Have completed all the training
or at least done some of them? We talking half?
with the
We
most
talking a
with the
third?
most recent, the three I just sent out, not one training module has been completed fully.
Okay,
So there are some people that have taken them all, but not everybody's taken all of them.
okay.
And I do try to limit them to to shorter timelines. There are some longer ones, but I do try to target them and when I set them up to be mindful of time, not to exceed 10 or 15 minutes, but it still isn't a long time. But we have most of them are 50% or less because you get the email and delete it, and you get another email, delete it. And that's
Yeah,
Yeah, I do.
yeah, right,
Every time.
yeah. Because it could be one of those phishing things.
That's another aspect of this that is very useful there's called a fish ER, fish alert, and it's a little icon that ends up in your email box. It has a little picture of a little fish hook, and there's emails that we get that are legitimately bad, and you can report them using that, and that adds to a database, and it really does make a big difference because it isolates the email, it deletes the email, and it logs the information, so that way it's used to grow the training for down the line. So
It's called the fish finder, right?
yeah, that's a different kind of fish,
Yep.
but this is PHISH. It is useful. I mean, over the course of 3 years, it's not a lot. I mean, we did not specifically budget for it, but there is some money left over in software that would offset about half that.
I don't know. I mean, I suspect I took some early on, and then other than just deleting emails that look suspicious.
Part of it is like
I learned from Kurt.
my email. I don't really like. I look at emails from you guys or Bill, and like
Anybody
that's
else?
about it.
I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Me too.
Call
Yeah.
me. Like that's just
What
how I use.
I'm interested
And I
in
get
how-
like the town employees use their emails differently than we do.
But
So I understand.
things like the Route 7 project, like Stephanie, for better or for worse, has a pretty large email thread that goes along with that project, and there is a lot of detail that can get lost, and unfortunately, if you kind of don't keep up with it along as the days go along, it can get harder when you have a meeting to be like, oh, what about this? Like, well, that was like 17 emails ago. Like, so I get it. There's a lot. Like, we actually have counts of like emails, and I think I get 3 times more than anybody does in the town, but here or there.
And you should.
And I should, and I do, so it's okay.
Yeah, you're looking at it all
people
day.
get that email, your town email address. That, some of the emails you get that are like, I mean, where do these people come from? And so I
They need
haven't done the
jobs,
training.
Joey.
Huh?
They need jobs.
Well, I haven't
their
done the
job.
training, but
That
I
is their
also I don't open, like the ones I recognize I open because
Me
it's
too.
important. The ones I don't recognize usually leave the field of play fairly soon.
Call me or show up to a meeting. It's normally how
But there
We're
is
not-
so
we're really
much
not the
stuff on that
target
town
audience.
email that I'm like, where do these people?
Right. So you're right. You're right. You guys are not. It is. Yes, it is helpful. It is meant more for people that are inside the building, but it does really apply because if there's a bad email that you do open and you don't understand, and start falling down links, it will send itself to the rest of us.
Right.
Because we're in your address book, and that's where the problem becomes. So I know Proctor's had some problems, and Albans had some problems, and I've received emails from people that I'm like, yeah, there's no way, like it looks legitimate. And I call that person, and they're like, they didn't even know. Like, I'm like, yeah, you just something just bad happened, and but it's an awareness thing, and yeah, I mean we are in it, and I'm very protective of our network, and I'm very protective of our data. And that's why, originally I was very much in favor of this, and I still am. It's only as good as everybody that's using it. So, and it's not at all a matter of the 5 of you doing them. It is helpful, but it is everybody. And we've, and everybody's busy, so that's why I try not to overwhelm. And I slow down on sending out new ones, because I get it. Like, it's just, if there's 10 minutes and this project's got to get done, this course is not. So, it is worthwhile. It is really good. We just got to encourage everybody to do it.
So, what's your pleasure?
So I move to approve the new contract and authorize Mary to sign.
Is there a second?
Second.
Joe did. And Sharon did. Any further discussion?
Could care less.
Do we get a discount on our VLCT insurance because we're doing this?
No.
Well, poopy
Well,
farts. Yeah.
we do have cybersecurity coverage through VLCT, so that is not a little thing either. Like, that's
Yeah,
a pretty
I know.
substantial part of our coverage now. it's not expensive per se, but it's a big component of it, which is why they contracted with this company to give us discounts. This is again one of those things like the safety grant. It's like it's investing to reduce the
Yeah.
costs. So
Okay, any further discussion? If not, all in favor of no before 3-year contract, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0.
We should somehow get that worked into the budget too, so.
yeah, I have a large spreadsheet where I have all of our contracts, and I try to go through when we plan the budgets, and I didn't see that one. I missed that one. So yeah, I will put that. I do have a list when we do I try to make sure the renewal dates are lining up, but yes, I completely agree.
Okay,
That is everything that
Alrighty.
I have. The police chief has assured me he will review the ordinance and get back to us with recommendations. He promises he's
okay,
gonna do that.
that's item F under action item. Let me just, Matt and I, we do need to do a police committee meeting. And I can make it fit at 5 o'clock next Tuesday before our 6 o'clock meeting with the regional commission. Does that work for you? Ed, does that work for you? Yes. Okay. So Bill, if you could warn that.
Done. List.
Okay, thank you. And there's several things, the 2 contracts that,
I have copier and taser contracts.
yep.
Okay. Is there anything else you want on the agenda?
We've got the, we need some language on the gun sale, the guns transactions. I think that's what we were gonna try and get.
I thought Ted said he had that language.
Right,
Okay.
but we didn't sign anything. Did we
Right.
sign it today? No, because we were waiting for that.
And
If we could maybe ask Marty to join us. If he could, we could deal with that question that's come up as well.
what question?
And if you want me to call him, I can do that.
I don't know what question.
Okay. We've answered the personnel comp time. Yeah.
I don't know what question are you meaning?
The Marty school question?
Emergency management at the school.
Oh, using the school.
Yes.
Okay. I can.
Just see if he would join us for that.
Sure.
Okay, and then don't forget next week, Tuesday at 6 o'clock, non-regular meeting, which means it's a special meeting, Rutland Regional Planning Commission to go over the regional plan.
And
Which,
on your desks was the packet from
Yeah.
them that they will be reviewing and more.
right. So if you can do that. Anything, let me just go through and make sure we've got everything. We're waiting until after tax season, which is now after tax season, but the town auditor, we were looking for some input about the draft policies. So if you could like check in when
I
he
will.
has a minute. The police department alarm. Any other new items from anyone? Nope.
We are discussing the highway digging in the right of way ordinance.
Okay, good. Yeah.
I have a draft.
If you can hang out, I'll give you a copy before you leave. If you want to hang out for here. Perfect.
Don't think we had any other committee meetings.
Nope.
Okay. Select board project list. There it is. Actually,
It is updated.
we've been good. Thank you. Tucking away at that. And I have no need for an executive session. Does anyone else? Okay. Is there a motion? Motion's made to adjourn, seconded. Oh, no, it's this end of the room.
That's fine. They can have it.
All in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye.